La 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 la. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Telreyne. I'm hoping still pronouncing that right. It took us a long time to do another Pallycast. You guys are probably painfully aware of this because Drakova's been hit with World of Warcraft depression, and he's currently painting elves and playing fantasy because he did a server transfer and kind of screwed himself. So he's going to be out of it for a couple months. Hopefully, during this Pallycast, we can shame him to come back a little bit. The subject of this Pallycast is going to be a Ret Reckoning, probably mainly focused, and also a little bit of a deep Ret Paladin guide. I think we're specifically going to be focusing on not just the gearing, but the tactics. But we're probably going to be doing 2 sets of gearing, one for Avengers, for the guy who's holy crap, it's really hard to actually get the BIS gear for Ret Reckoning. I'm just going to sit on Avengers and try to make that work. And then hopefully Telreyne can also walk us through what he thinks is BIS. So anyways, I'm going to kick it over to Telreyne.
Yeah, so I made a video recently about best in slot reckoning itemization. Generally speaking, it does kind of vary depending on the matchup. But there's a lot of general builds that you can use. I'll post some links so that you can pull them up if you want.
Oh, sweet.
We'll find them real quick.
So,
there's a general. There's 3 main standard item builds for Ret Reckoning in particular. There's anti-melee, anti-caster, and then my BG, my standard build.
Yeah, your all-comers build.
Yeah, so I'll post it in here real quick.
Okay. How hard is it to get this gear? Is this the BIS if you have a raid that loves you and doesn't mind giving you the stuff you need?
So the hardest thing to get is the weapon, obviously, which would be Dark Age of Insanity, but most of it, honestly, is not that hard to get. Because a lot of the off pieces, the Avengers, is actually not as difficult as a lot of people might think to get. The martial gears, of course, it takes some time. But really, the only pieces that are hard to get are Dark Age of Insanity and Boots of the Fallen Hero, or Chromatic Boots, whichever is easier for you to get.
Okay.
So this standard build, I just posted it. I'll pull up the anti-caster build.
Anti-caster build, la 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 la. Oh shit! Right. Oh, never mind. It worked. I was like, I'm not on my VPN. Is this actually going to work? And luckily, it did. Okay. Field marshals. PayPal. What the hell? Go away. Yeah. Okay. So you got some field marshals here. What do you replace the field marshals with if you don't have field marshals?
So for the standard build, if you don't have the field marshal gear, if you're not running the 3-piece, you could just run. Honestly, you could just run Avengers. I personally would probably run Helm of Endless Rage over the Avengers Crown.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's very similar. It's just because of the stam.
Yeah.
But that's because I really like stam. But if the 5 set from Avengers is not bad. So if you're not wearing the martial gear, you could definitely run the Avengers Crown and the Avengers chest instead of the 2 field marshal pieces, and then instead of the martial gloves, you could probably just run Gauntlets of Annihilation if you could get them, or another good piece would be the or not a good piece, but a decent piece would be the what are they called? Gauntlets of the Righteous Champion from Iscadus. But Gauntlets of Annihilation.
No world for Vooney's gloves.
The Voon gloves would be good if you needed the hit.
You're right.
So if you wanted to 5-piece Avengers and you weren't running Chromatic Boots or Boots of the Fallen Hero, then you'd probably want to basically hit boots. You'd run 5-piece Avengers, and you maybe want to run Voons or some other kind of pair of gloves with hit, and then just run another hit ring. Like I have on here, Ring of Reckoning and the Signet Ring of Bronze Dragonflight. You could maybe run the Bronze Dragonflight ring with Don Julio's if you needed the hit, but ideally you want to run 3-piece Marshal with Fallen Hero or Chromatic Boots, just because those boots, the difference between the 2 boots are very negligible. It's a very minor difference.
You got
it's
hit on your boots.
It's got lots of strength, agi, stam, and hit, which is what you want to run. Avengers Paul, the 5-piece Avengers doesn't really give too much benefit to Ret Reckoning. It's more beneficial for Deep Ret, where you're getting a lot more out of your like your consecrate, your seal of command, burst, and all that.
You're doing a lot more with. Well, okay, I kind of look at it like Avengers is nice against warriors. Like specifically, if I had to fight like a warrior as a Ret Reckoning or a Deep Ret Paladin, if I was in Avengers, I wouldn't be lamenting the situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't see Ret Reckoning getting a lot out of the spell power in the grand scheme of things. But it's a nice, well-rounded all-comers set. The Avengers 5-piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. The set bonus, like I said, the set bonus doesn't do much, but the pieces themselves are really well itemized.
Right.
It doesn't really hurt you to run the full set.
Right. Gotcha.
Because as Ret Reckoning, you want to get the most out of your white hits, obviously. So the spell power doesn't really do much for you. The procs and judgments will be nice, but it's not really a stat. You kind of like if there's like you don't want to avoid it, but it's nice to have, but it's not really a stat you shoot for.
Do you still have the ones that we built for McConnell for his 5-piece Avengers?
Yeah, let me find it real quick.
All right, cool. So I'll talk about hit points real fast while you're finding that. So one thing I wanted to talk about was you have +4 all stats on your chest piece, like consistently. And I'm wondering if you had a conversation with Drakova about this over like the +100 hit points. That must have been a conversation between you guys.
We talked about it a long time ago. I forgot specifically what he said, but my general rule of thumb, and I probably inherited this from him, is that generally if it's a high stam chest, so generally like at least 20 stam, I'll put +4 stats, and if it's a low stam chest,
interesting.
Like under 20 stam, like something teen amount of stam, then I'll usually do 100 HP. The HP doesn't, it's 6 more. 60 HP isn't that big of a difference, but when you're wearing a low stam chest, like if you look at the caster build, I run 100 HP on the thick obsidian breastplate because it only has 16 stam, so something like that.
That's another thing we got to talk about is the fucking thick obsidian breastplate is broken as fuck, bro.
It is insanely good.
Like it might as well say plus 1,000 hit points for all the good it does you against casters. Like, when you put that thing on, it feels like suddenly I'm over 6,000 hit points against casters. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I just wade into these motherfuckers now, and it's not even a problem. So, yeah, okay.
I feel like it's almost necessary for fighting, like, elemental shamans and stuff like that. Like, it is insanely good.
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about is we need to get you to do some playtesting with your shaman as far as... How is the interactions of Chain Lightning with like Thick Obsidian Breastplate or even Resists and that kind of stuff? You know, it's like each individual lightning hit from Chain Lightning potentially proccing the Obsidian Breastplate, and subsequently are they each affected by Nature Resist? I have no idea how it works. And you can't really check the combat log either, you know what I mean? Like you get hit with that shit and it just gives you like one chunk of info.
I want to know, and I haven't tested this, but I want to know if, because you know how they'll do Chain Lightning Earth Shock, they're bullshit. Yeah. I want to know if it procs off the Chain Lightning, will it negate the Earth Shock? I need to test that.
Yeah, we need to do a bunch of tests with that shit.
Things like that, like that's the kind of stuff I want to mess around with. Honestly, the most use I've seen for it in the Shaman matchup actually is for fire damage, because they'll drop a searing totem or something, and it actually has a really high chance to proc off the searing totem because it's a lot of consistent damage. And then when they drop the Nova totem, then it'll help block the Nova totem damage.
In my experience, it's out comes the grenade, and the grenade is non-periodic fire damage, and then that has a chance to proc it, and then the Nova totem goes off, and then that has a chance to proc it. And I
actually don't know. I doubt this is the case, but I haven't seen it happen. I would need to see. But I'm not sure if the proc absorbs the grenade, will you still be stunned from it? I'm not sure if it works like that or not. I haven't.
I have tested Obsidian Breastplate, at least against a Warlock, and I know that the proc does not negate fears. So I'm assuming it doesn't negate the stun. However, if you haven't noticed, I don't know how stuns work with fire resist. Maybe you've seen this more. It's like, do I have to completely resist the grenade in order to resist the stun, or can I partially resist the grenade and resist the grenade?
if you the properties as far as stun and grenade go,
Yeah.
as far as I've known for like the entire time the game's been out, is that the stun and the damage are separate. You can, for example, an orc
Yeah.
can take the damage but
Yeah.
resist the stun.
Yeah, I've seen that.
But if you fully resist the damage, then you can resist the stun as
I
well. Like
yeah.
the stun is a proc off the damage. So if you fully resist the damage, then you won't be stunned.
Agreed.
That's why when I see
Your hand
someone
of rag fire
casting a
resist is
grenade.
like laughing at that shit.
Oh yeah, I used to resist grenades all the time when I was running like tier 2 with hand rag. Like I would resist grenades all the
It's
time.
fucking stupid.
I usually when I see if I have a free global and I see them casting a grenade, I'll swap the fire aura too, just to as an extra fuck you. Like
interesting.
There goes your grenade.
I've been really wondering about does grenade is it both a stun and a disorient simultaneously? Like does whatever the hell increases our resistance to fear and disorient effects affect it? Because you remember how on like a hen house or something it counted as both, right? It was like both a stun and a disorient effect.
Yeah, I don't think it works like that.
Okay.
That would. Okay. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that. Because if that's the case, then
it'd be really hard to test.
It would be hard to test, but I also feel like orcs wouldn't resist nades as much if it was a disorient as well, because duration only applies to stuns.
Right, but I'm saying that it's I think it's both simultaneously. It's like simultaneously coded to be I'm probably talking out my ass right now. Just bear with me. But on Henhouse, I swear to God, it was simultaneously a disorient and a stun, and it was fucking weird. But
yeah, I don't think that's how it is on Classic, but I have not tested it specifically, so okay. I wouldn't know.
Maybe I'll have to go get some grenades and just throw them at people like for an hour and see what happens. All right, let's see some Avengers action. So I think that a lot of people. Oh, I guess I got to load these things. All right, so since we're talking about gear, we're going to be talking about gear for a while. Let's talk about the most important facets for gearing as far as I think any paladin is concerned, but let's talk about Ret Reckoning and Deep Ret specifically. What do you think are the most important aspects for gearing your Ret in Classic WoW? PvP-wise, at least.
The biggest thing, I think, is just stamina, because we're not graced with beautiful itemization like warriors are, and they just get bukudo out of stamina for free. Like, a warrior can just wear full martial gear. Like, a rank 14 warrior can just use the weapon and full martial gear with enchant and have over 6k HP easily.
Yeah.
While we're, like, wearing some of our martial gear with, like, alongside warrior bis off pieces, and we're, like, struggling to stay over 5k.
Listen. So, you're looking at look at warriors with envy all you want until you realize they can't get out of snares. That's just my take on warriors.
True.
It's like you can have all the hit points in your world, but if you can't fucking move and you're a melee class, get fucked, bro.
So paladins are just because of that, we are kind of glass cannons in the sense that our burst is very high, but our survivability isn't as good as other classes, because we have very strong, and this has kind of been the theme of Ret throughout WoW's lifespan, is that they have very strong burst, very strong defensive cooldowns, but when they don't have access to either of those, they're kind of squishy, and they don't really they're not that strong. So stamina is definitely the big thing. Stamina and crit are probably the two most important stats for paladin PvP, in my opinion. Okay. Crit, because obviously our burst has insane potential, and also critting means uptime on vengeance, which is just equals more damage.
Yeah.
And then stamina, obviously, to help our survivability. Survivability is the biggest problem I have with paladins in PvP, in my opinion. The damage isn't that big of a deal, because when the damage is there, the damage is good, even if my gear is falling behind.
Yeah.
And just being able to survive and take the hits is what's biggest, especially for Ret Reckoning. Deep Ret, a little less so, but more importantly, especially for Ret Reckoning.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's the same way for Holy Reckoning. If you can reach those hit point break points, you go from being a squishy guy who can't really do any damage to suddenly you're really fucking hard to kill and you have the clap. You know what I mean? Like you're alive when you should be dead. Suddenly you're healing yourself when you're alive when you should be dead. It's causing all kinds of problems for the opponent, and then you're just kind of beating the shit out of them from there. So I agree 100%. If you guys haven't noticed, both me, Drakova, Telreyne, any paladin worth their salt is going to tell you that your hit points are your number one priority on your stat, irregardless of what the fuck you're doing. It's like, I don't care if you're in tier 1, you need to hit your hit point breakpoints. And your hit point breakpoints are, first off, you need to get over 5,000 hit points. Like, just get over 5,000 hit points. Ideally, you get over 5,050 hit points. Because it's hard for us to tell, but somewhere around the 5,000 to the 5,100 hit point mark, in my opinion, there's a break point. And the break point is, you can tell your break points very easily, in my opinion, when you look at when you die. If you look at your combat log and you die, and you're dead, and your combat log says that you took 600 damage with 50 overkill, what that's telling you is you need another 100 hit points. And then your combat log will be saying the appropriate statement, which is that you took like 50 damage, but there was like 600 overkill. That's the ideal thing you're looking for when you die. The other thing you can look for is, are you alive with a non-existent hit point bar? You know what I mean? If you're alive with a non-existent hit point bar, then you've geared your hit points correctly. What are your thoughts on this, Telreyne?
Yeah, so for me, the break point is about, like you said, 5K, at least in this phase.
Yeah, it'll probably be like
at
5,400 in Nax, I think.
Yeah,
or,
definitely.
Or I know. Yeah, or I think we're gonna have to start wearing obsidian breastplate. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to wear an obsidian breastplate potentially.
Oh yeah, like you'll have, honestly, in next patch I'll have to start wearing thick obsidian breastplate just in my standard like build, because the castles will just be so overpowered that you don't want to be caught dead with that thing without that thing on.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. But you can still like have insane amounts of stamina. It's just very difficult to get. And honestly, actually, too, this is kind of not really off topic, but still kind of a little bit off topic. I recommend any paladin that is serious about PvPing rank, because the rank 13 helm and rank 12 gloves are BIS for PvP for the entire game. So even if you're like, oh, it's AQ, I don't really want to rank, I still recommend ranking, because the helm and gloves, at least the two-piece, and those two pieces in particular, just give you so much stamina and so much armor. Like, they're so good. And the three-piece is insane, especially for dueling. Like, as Ret Reckoning, especially, you'll have Impage plus the 10-second cooldown reduction from the 3-set. Like, you should rank as a paladin. If you want to play Ret, you should rank, even now.
I do know that Drakova went up to rank 12 because he has a life. So what do you think his thought process is on making rank 12 work?
My guess is that he'll just run legs gloves for the two-piece, because the boots are really bad. The legs aren't bad. The legs are on par with the Guards of the Fallen Crusader from Blackwing Lair. They're about the same.
Gotcha. So you're just looking for that extra like 100, 200 hit points, somewhere around there.
Yeah, the stats are good on them. The helm is just, there's better legs, because Avengers legs are going to be better than the rank 12 legs. But you might still have slightly more hit points if you're min-maxing. 12 is the lowest I would ever rank to as a paladin. Honestly, I would never go lower than 12.
I think in phase 1 the blues are pretty fucking gnarly though.
Yeah, so early on, like
phase 2.5
before Blackwing Lair, if you can, the rank 10 shoulders with rank 10 boots is BIS for PvP, but that's only if Blackwing Lair isn't out.
And you're not going higher. Yeah.
Okay. So it's if you can't get access to martial gear before Blackwing Lair, then 10 is a decent place to stop, but that's only early. I still would always recommend, I recommend paladins go to 14, but not everyone can do that. So 12 is the lowest, I would say.
Okay, so I was talking to you before the cast, and you were talking about how, make sure I'm still recording over here. Yeah, I am. You're talking about how you think the second most important stat besides your hit points is your crit chance. And we had a lovely conversation about that. You were telling me that you think that you're currently, from what you're seeing, that you don't want to go any lower than a 20% crit chance. I think Drakova always tries to go for like 24% crit chance. I'd really love to pick his brain on what the hell he's really striving for with the 24%. But tell me your thoughts on the reason why crit is the second best thing to have over like attack power and all that other shit. Maybe
So
hits better, right? Like hits. Like this is assuming you get your hit cap, right?
yeah, oh yeah, obviously hit cap is the most important thing
Okay.
because if you're missing, if during the wreck bomb you're missing all your hits, or if you like,
even
if
one,
you're missing,
even one miss,
yeah, even just one miss is a huge DPS loss, and it could that one miss could be the difference between one shotting someone.
Yeah.
And
No,
them
it's I don't even think it's can be the difference. I think more often than not, you might as well assume 100% of the time it was the difference. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
And
I agree.
and obviously you don't want Seal Command to miss when that procs because that thing can hit pretty hard. So you always want no less than 5. Honestly, in this phase, with how geared warriors are and some people are, I honestly recommend 6% hit. But I usually make my builds around 5% minimum, just so that you can see like, okay, like if you have this, like you will be fine. But if you can squeeze an extra 1% hit in there, I always recommend it in later phases of the game when warriors start having like high avoidance and things like that.
Okay, I got you.
It's good. Obviously, for dueling a caster, you don't want 6%. But if you're like dueling a warrior, or for like battlegrounds and general world PvP, like you want to wear 6%.
Okay. All right. So about the crit, why 20%?
Oh, right. So crit. So 20% is just like the lowest threshold that I would say it makes sense to run. Like I wouldn't run it. Want to run any less than 20 because
talk to me about your experience going less than 20%.
Less than 20%, your wreck bombs, like they just don't feel very strong. You're not critting a lot. You're critting it sometimes, but the reason why you want to try to run as much crit as possible is to make the most out of every hit within that wreck bomb, because each individual hit has its own calculated crit when you drop your bomb, obviously. So you just want to get the most out of it. That's why crit is more important than attack power, because, and obviously attack power is good, but crit is more important than attack power as Ret, because you have Blessing of Might to make up for that lack of attack power, which I always run improved Blessing of Might when I play Ret.
If you're going to wreck bomb someone, the first thing you're doing is Blessing of Mighting, even if you didn't have it up beforehand. Even against like an elemental shaman, probably your first course of action is, let me put up Might.
Like, if I have a free global before I drop my bomb, I will always throw up Might, and I will always do my best to keep Might up whenever I'm on offense.
Oh, which brings up another question. What if you don't have a free global? Will you hold off on your wreck bomb until you get the Might up? I do that.
It depends. If I need the damage like right now, like if it's gonna like cost me the game if I don't, then obviously I won't. But I won't like go out of my way. I won't go super out of my way to rebuff Might, but I always try my best to keep Might up as much as possible. If it's life or death, then I'd rather just the damage. But yeah, just common sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20 is like a good minimum threshold to like hit. 23, 24% is like really, that's like where you want to be. As far as crit goes.
Do you know how Vengeance works in the Wreck Bomb? Like, if you get Vengeance on the first Wreck Bomb hit, does it apply to every subsequent one, or is that not how Vengeance is working?
I think it does, because I've done tests and it seems like that's how it works, but it's really hard to say, because usually as Ret Reckoning, if you're getting Vengeance as Ret Reckoning, you're only getting 1 point, so it's only 3% damage.
So that makes sense. Okay.
It's kind of a minor difference, and you don't really notice it too much, but 3% more damage is 3% more damage, so...
Oh, my bad. I was over here thinking you guys actually get 5 out of 5 Vengeance, but you're right, you only get 1 point.
Yeah, that's why some people actually opt to go for the 2% strength from Divine Strength instead of the 1% into...
Vengeance. That actually makes sense. Yeah, to put 1 point into the strength. No, not really, because it doesn't affect any of your attack power bonuses or Blessing of Might or anything like that.
The strength is
hard.
Good. The strength is good if you're stacking a lot of strength. For raw Wreck Bombs,
right,
strength is better, but for overall PvP, Vengeance is better because it's going to be a buff that lasts you, so you'll have it for other hits and things. And it'll not only like the strength will just affect your white hits, obviously, and then Vengeance will affect your Seal of Command and your Judgment of Command and
your Blessing. Yeah. Well, it goes back to the whole reason we talked about before we started the Pallycast on why you want a certain amount of crit. So the number one reason why you want a certain amount of crit is you want to have a substantial amount of variance. Not as okay, maybe that's the wrong word, but you want to have a good bit of variance in your damage output for your Reck Bomb. Consistency is not ideal, is basically what I'm saying. If you go like attack power over crit chance, you're going to end up having these very consistent Reck Bombs, but that just means that you consistently fail to kill your opponent the vast majority of the time. Whereas when you go crit chance over attack power, what ends up happening is 50% of the time you'll clap them out of existence, or 1 in 4 times you'll obliterate them, and that is far more ideal than leaving your opponent alive with like 2% life or 10% life, and then they just like pot and heal back up and blink away or whatever the hell. Am I making any sense on that one?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and that's kind of how it works. And you want, and here's the thing too, is like you're not always going to be hitting 4 stack Reck Bombs, right?
Correct.
So you want, even if you're just doing like 2 stack Reck Bombs, right? Like just 2 hits. You want those hits to be critting as much as possible because you want to be making most of your damage.
You want to at least have the chance that half a Reck Bomb is all you need.
Yeah, exactly. And because sometimes that might be all you get. You know, you might be fighting a mage that's not critting you as much, and you get 1 stack, and you need to make the most of that. That 2 stack Reck Bomb. So
makes sense.
That's kind of my thought process on it. Well, obviously, attack power is.
Well, I mean, as Holy Reckoning, I live in a world where my Reck Bombs are not powerful enough to one-shot people, right? So my entire world from a Reck Bomb perspective is I'm failing to kill motherfuckers in a single Reck Bomb, and I always get to see the consequences of that. The consequences are that they shoot back up to half life almost immediately, right? Because between Whipper Root and the healing potion, they're just boom, they're half life again. And ideally, you want them fucking dead, not half life, dead. Right. So it's like I Reck Bomb them, I'll get that mage down to like 2% life. I'm like, I don't go, sweet, I did a lot of damage. I go, fuck, because it means he's just going to heal back to half-life and blink away and sheep me. And it's like, Yeah. So that's the life. I can't
tell you how many times I've Reck Bombed someone in there at 1% and then they got away.
Yeah. And when you see that, you should be cursing your crit more than your attack power? Or do you curse your attack power more than your crit? Like, what's the thought process?
I usually blame my crit because if at least 3 of those hits, if it's someone that if I can like get someone to 1% and a Reck Bomb, it's usually they're like a clothy or like a leatherware. Mm-hmm. So if I can have at least 3 of those hits crit, then they're probably gonna die.
Or even 2.
My white hits
like 2 crits. I think
right now my autos. Yeah, even 2 crits because right now my autos crit for about 1,000 damage.
Yeah. I think you do about 500 base. I was testing it with McConnell the other day, how much damage you do against a clothy. Like, I stripped myself down, and I was like, it's about 500 base he was pumping in Avengers.
Yeah, the only piece of gear from AQ that I have is Dark Edge. Everything else I have is like Blackwing layer gear and ranking gear. And if I'm hitting, I mean, obviously the weapon is one of the most important things, but, you know, if I had no AQ gear and my autos are hitting for 1,000, like, when I have my full AQ BIS, like, you know, it's going to be hitting like crazy.
I'm looking up, one second. I'm looking up I've been looking at and drooling from a reckoning perspective of the trinket Jom Gobbers, the one that increases your attack power by like 65 every 2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck do you think about that thing, man? Jom Gobber?
I think that trinket's pretty good. I want to get one.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, bro, if we can find a way to put, like, it might be better than Hand of Justice. Like, I'm not kidding. Hand of Justice is nice, but if you already have the crit rating, and, when you hit the crit rating threshold, like when you start getting really high crit, suddenly you don't want variance anymore. Suddenly you're back to wanting a consistent clapper. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm thinking Jom Gobbers, if we get good at using the Jom Gobbers, especially with Bubble, oh god, Jom Gobbers and Bubble is probably a doom combo. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm just run my happy little ass over there and pop you into oblivion.
For me, Hand of Justice is old reliable just because of the potential it has during a 4-stack Wreck Bomb. Like, I've had Wreck Bombs where I've seen it, like, proc twice. Not, like, in the Wreck Bomb, but it, like, would proc once. It would, like, proc in the middle of the Wreck Bomb, so I now have, like, an extra hit, and then it procs off the Seal Command at the end of the Wreck Bomb. Like,
Oh yeah, well it's better than plus 2% crit, no matter how you look at it.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely run it over Blackhand's Breath. You know, because that's my other stat stick trinket that I have, and between Blackhand's Breath and Hand of Justice, I always run Hand of Justice. Hand of Justice, like I said, it's old reliable. It's the trinket that if you have it, and if you have nothing else, it's like it's so good. It definitely gets the job done.
Yeah, I think statistically, it's pretty much BIS, like, period. Like, from a raw mathematical perspective, it's good. However, the Ret Reckoning play style is not about raw math statistics. It's about your clap. It's about when you make contact with the opponent. This is how I look at it in my brain. When you make contact with the opponent, he either dies immediately or he dies 10 seconds after that. It's like if he's taking any longer to die, you're probably you're not doing it right, or something went wrong for between point A to point B.
Right.
By 10 seconds, I'm usually thinking in my brain, I'm picturing I wreck bomb them. They end up having 3% life. I go, fuck, he didn't die. They end up potting back to 50% life, and then I'm like, can I stay on and physically murder this son of a bitch in the next 3 auto attacks? Like, that's my thought process on it. Because I think a good player can get you off of them in about 10 seconds. Like, that's the time limit. Like, I'm thinking like hunters in particular and a bunch of other classes, because that's how long it takes. That's how long it takes your Blessing of Freedom usually to wear off. Like, it's within that 10-second time window, because you had to use it to get to them. It lasts 16 seconds. You get to them, you bomb them, you go, oh shit, they didn't fucking die, ah crap. And then when that Blessing of Freedom wears off, they're going to hit you with a slow, and then they're going to get away from you. So you got about 10 seconds after the bomb. Other classes, you don't even have those 10 seconds. Mages in particular, you don't have 10 seconds. Shamans, you might not even have 10 seconds just because of their sheer DPS output. I've been thinking a lot about Shamans, though. I like the $100 resist trinket against Shamans. In my brain, it's kind of like... we'll get into tactics later, but in my brain, it's What are you saying? You say your piece.
I was just going to say... I mean, we'll get into matchups later, like you said, but it is definitely a trinket that I think is like worth going for, because it definitely can, like, $100 resistance is very clutch. I think, I don't remember where I read it. It was a very obscure forum post a long time ago. But basically, the math on resistances.
Oh shit!
I'm correct.
He's got math. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Lies.
If my math is correct, 100 to all resistances is about 20% chance, 20% additional chance to fully resist a spell.
That actually sounds about right. I built a bit. I was a huge resistance fan for Paladin in Burning Crusade, so I tend to know more about resistances than most people. But I think the numbers are exactly the same from Burning Crusade to Classic. Like, I don't think the baseline math has changed. A few of the mechanics are different, and I can tell you, when you get about 250 to all resistances, you're somewhere in the vicinity of like a 50% reduction. I'm sure you've noticed that. If
my math is right, then 10 resistance is roughly between 2 to 2.5% additional chance to fully resist the spell.
Yeah.
So if you're at like you said, 250, you're at least at an additional 50% chance. So 100 resist is a lot.
Yeah.
So it can definitely become. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I specifically like it. Okay. I just want to run my base thought process against for Ret Reckoning against Elemental Shamans by you as an Elemental Shaman player, and my brain is like I watched Drakova's. Drakova sends me a bunch of what he would wear against an Elemental Shaman, and it's very clear from my perspective that he's kind of going for the clap. He wants to run over there. He wants to ideally kill them in one fucking hit, or they die very shortly after. Like, he would probably use like the Burrow Shell Trinket, Arena Grandmasters. You know what I mean? He wants to get physically on top of them with a little bit of hit points to spare and get the job done. In my brain, however, I'm wondering, it's like, if I use the 100 all resistances trinkets, and God forbid I also use like a burrow shell that I've got pulled up right now on top of that, which I'm not. They probably you can use them simultaneously. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better for Ret Reckoning if you're physically on top of the Elemental Shaman. They've used their burst. You're physically on top of them, but you're like at 40% life. In my brain, it's like, how the fuck is an Elemental Shaman not going to get cut to fucking pieces, like, over time? Like, he's not going to die in the Wreck Bomb, but he has to stop and heal himself, and you're just going to be pumping the DPS into him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so here's my thing, is like, if you can survive their, if you have a way, if you can negate their burst and still be in a position where you're not forced to bubble, then you will beat the shaman pretty much every time. Because right now I don't have burrow shell or the resistance trinket, and I'm in a situation now where I either have to they burst me early so I can eat the burst.
Yeah,
they take the eye for an eye hit, which honestly does like 30 to 40% of their health most of the time. And then on top of that, I have 3 hits from a Wreck Bomb.
Yeah.
That I'm about to drop, which that does a lot. But the downside is that if that doesn't kill them and I'm not able to stop their heal, then it kind of sucks because I pretty much instantly have to. If they just burst me early, then I instantly have to bubble.
Yeah. That's
situation A. Situation B is, which I noticed a lot of smart shamans do, is they will play normally. They'll play like they'll kind of kite you around with frost shock and things like that. They'll kind of whittle you down and get you in a situation where they can like nade or war stomp and then into their combo to guarantee the kill. And if that's the case, then you have to pre-bubble, like bubble right before it goes off, right before the damage goes off.
Okay, so we're having the exact same experience from what I'm hearing. As Holy Reckoning, what I see them doing is they assume they can't get you with their burst from full life, so they try to whittle you down to like 90% life and then burst on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're seeing these. They're doing the exact same thing to you.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and the problem is that if they do that, then it forces me to bubble. And I mean, I still can win. Yeah. It's just very difficult because they'll stop and heal, and then I'll usually stop and heal when I'm bubbled because, or if I like eat the hit, I have to stop and bubble. I'll like jump the Wreck Bomb real quick, and then I'll start healing. It's just I think the key to the matchup of specifically Ret Reckoning versus Elemental Shaman, and I'll go into it a little more later when we talk about matchups, but just if you can save your bubble, then you win. If you can bubble on your terms, then you win. If you bubble on their terms, then they win. They have a much higher chance to win, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Yeah, that's not my experience as Holy Reckoning at all. With Holy Reckoning, it's literally so one weird aspect about the Shaman matchup is you're kind of in a DPS war. And it's kind of like, because I can't kill them in a solid Wreck Bomb. So the situation for me is it's like, God, we're getting a little bit off topic now. But the situation for me is like, he who has to stop and heal first loses. Right? That's my situation, because it's like, and the Elemental Shamans are very good at converting their mana into damage. They're not very efficient at converting their mana into damage, but they're very good at rapidly converting their mana into damage on the target. And if they're doing so much to me that I have to stop and heal, then they're just going to they're either going to use that to heal up and get distance, or they're going to just continue pumping it into me. And I'm heal locked. It's like, you know what I mean? You have to heal yourself and then heal yourself again and then heal yourself again. And they're just looking for RNG to murder you at that point. It's like, oh, am I getting back-to-back crits? Okay, then you fucking die. But the win condition, however, is if I'm physically on top of the shaman beating their dick off, and I'm high enough hit points that they're the ones who are going to have to stop and heal first, they're fucking dead. They're not going to win that mana war against a Holy Reckoning paladin. And from a Ret Reckoning perspective, I've always wondered if the same conditions were achievable. If you've taken the burst to the face, you're physically on top of the shaman, you've already put your Wreck Bomb into them, but you're 40% fucking hit points. I'm pretty sure you're going to cut them to fucking pieces as they try to heal themselves. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah. No, yeah. Usually in that situation, I will just try to,
like, your raw DPS is just going to carry the day. It's like,
like I'm going to be able to burst just gonna be able to do a lot of. I'm basically, if I'm in that situation, my damage will force them to basically make them heal themselves until they're and then when they're
Right.
I automatically because
Right.
any class with a mana bar, any class versus an paladin,
Oh yeah, I agree.
a paladin always wins.
Like
And I had this conversation with a priest.
well, really? He didn't believe you?
Yeah. Well, it's like I noticed this is like paladins can do the most. Obviously, they can do the most damage of any class of any mana using class when they're because they get so much from. They're the only mana using class that gets, aside from maybe enhancement shaman, that gets a lot of benefit from their melee attacks.
Well,
the
way I put it is, there is no class that you cannot win a sustained melee game against a paladin. They have just way too much sustain. The only one that theoretically could do that would be like if you were a very low mana paladin versus a warrior. The warrior can probably win that contest. The problem is that in the matchup, you almost always you're not versus a warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the hardest matchup for a sustained paladin would be a low mana paladin against a druid with no dual boundaries. I think a druid could just kite you all day and keep you in combat with Moonfire.
Yeah. However, this is from a Ret Reckoning perspective, or are you just talking in general?
I'm just saying in general, like a paladin with not a lot of mana. So like a Ret Reckoning paladin.
In that case, what you do is you find your Blessing of Light and you find your rank 1 FOL, and you'll be healing about 350 hit points for 35 mana. So good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we got way off topic. So gearing, we were talking about how I guess we'll do a brief summary. So gearing wise for Ret Reckoning, what Telreyne thinks. I've talked to Drakova a bit about this too. Drakova's how do I put this? Drakova's a bit of a min-maxer in my opinion, but that's kind of him. Like he doesn't talk in generic terms. He talks like very specifically. He's like, what matchup are we talking about? What conditions are we talking about? Anyways,
that's kind of how I am too. Although I'm for myself, I am that way, but for other players, I'm not really that way unless they ask. A lot of players just want to know like what's the general thing to shoot
or
for.
They'll just be like, hey man, I'm shooting for Avengers, how can I make Avengers work, which is a thing we're probably going to be talking about next. But okay, so general recap just to help us get back on track. So we talked about the importance of hit point breakpoints. I personally believe at this phase, and I think at this phase, we're still at this phase. Your breakpoints are 4,800 hit points. Try to hit that. The next breakpoint is just over 5,000 hit points. Ideally 5,100 hit points because we're not really sure where the hell that breakpoint is. And then after that, I think the next breakpoint, and you might have seen this, Telreyne, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know on Henhouse in Phase 3 gear, the next breakpoint was 5,400 hit points. Have you tried 5,400 hit points in Phase 5?
Patch?
No, in this patch, in Phase 5. Because I know Phase 3 and Phase 4, 5,400 hit points is a breakpoint. I'm curious what Phase 5... the next breakpoint after 5,000 is.
In Phase 5?
Yeah. With the pen gear. The pen gear changes everything from a Holy Reckoning perspective. Maybe it doesn't change it from a Ret Reckoning perspective, but...
For Holy Reckoning, I definitely see that because you're wearing T2, and T2 gets a
butt fuck ton
when
of fire
Spellpen gets in the game... Yeah, like I noticed this so much, like how the importance of like just like the resistances on tier gear in like BWL versus now, like the judgment set, and this is why I tell people Shockedin is not Shockedin falls off very hard in AQ because you're wearing mostly tier 2, and tier 2 just gets an inherent nerf once Spellpen is in the game.
Yeah, and Eye of Mob is a thing, so if at any point in time they just pop that thing. Eye of Mob's like, if you guys don't know, it's from AQ 20, very easy to get. It's minus 100 to your to target's resistances for like 20 seconds or some shit, or 30 maybe. It's fucking cancerous ass.
Yeah, you could tear a paladin into shreds. You could tear a Shocked into shreds with that thing.
Yeah, so you want hit points more than resist, but the resist are still a big fucking deal, especially fire resist.
Oh yeah. And this is what I tell people. People ask me a lot, like, because I'm kind of notorious on my server for using resistance gear. A lot of casters hate me.
Why? That's so stupid. Every fucking paladin should be going that route. Oh, you're talking about stacking like a fag. Oh, okay.
It's just not like other paladins. Like other paladins think that shit is awesome. I'm talking like warlocks that I duel that bitch about Shadow Resist, or like oh my gosh, I can't get a Shadow Priest to duel me to save my life anymore. Like,
oh, I see, yeah. And Drakova has that problem too. Like, people would stop dueling them. I never have that problem because I always try to make it work with almost pure tier 2. Right? So I don't have that problem. Instead, they bitch about other things. They bitch about the fact that they're getting beat by tier 2, I think. Anyways, however, I would say the big saving grace, despite the fact that we can't really rely on our resistances all that much anymore, the big saving grace is that, and I've got it pulled up right here, Thick Obsidian Breastplate is bullshit. Can we take a moment to talk about Thick Obsidian Breastplate from a gearing perspective?
It's really good. I think if you have full best in slot gear, actually no, I take that back. I think if you're not rank 13, you should be wearing Thick Obsidian Breastplate for World PP.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because if you're not rank 13, you can't run, you could be rank 12 and run the 3-set bonus, but that's not ideal because the boots aren't very good and the legs are decent.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is, this is what I think I'm hearing you say anyways, is like if you have full best in slot, is it that your clap is sufficient that you don't need the Thick Obsidian Breastplate, or is it that you have the hit points and so you don't need a Thick Obsidian Breastplate, or a combination of the two? Like, what's doing it for you?
It's a Thick Obsidian Breastplate that's like carrying most of the. Wait, can you explain the question again?
Sure. Here, I'll run it by you again. So I'm asking you, you started off by saying if you're not in full BIS gear, or full phase BIS gear, then I suggest Thick Obsidian Breastplate. And then my brain is okay, is that a hit point issue, or is that because your clap has become so hard hitting that you don't need the extra hit points? Like, you're either you have the hit points on your gear, or your clap is so sufficient that it doesn't matter.
A little bit of both. More so hit points, because that chest, even though it only has 16 stamina on it, it basically has like 30. You could, when it comes to caches, you can pretend that thing has like 30 stam on it.
Oh, dude, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. You do the fucking math on this fucking thing. Like, in my brain, it's like, okay, imagine I'm fighting a caster in like a 1v1, like a duel or something, and it's like, okay, how many spells am I expecting this fucker to take to kill me? Let's say it takes 6 spells to kill you, which I think is a little disingenuous. Like, it's actually going to take more like 7 or 8 spells to kill you, but we'll say like 6 really hard-hitting spells to kill you. This fucking thing is likely going to proc 3 times. And when this fucking thing procs 3 times, it's going to give you the equivalent of like 1,000 more hit points than you otherwise would have had. And what's dumb about this is that it kind of compounds on itself, because it's like, oh, if it took 6 to kill you before, with an extra 1,000, it's going to proc 3 times, or like twice, or something. Not 3 times, twice. It's going to give you an extra like 1,000 hit points or some bullshit like that. Then it's going to proc another time, right? Because you're alive when you should be dead, which means it's probably going to proc again, and it's just, oh god, this thing might as well say you have an extra like 1,000 fucking hit points against casters. And you feel it when you wear this fucking thing. Sometimes she doesn't come through for you, though. Sometimes she's just not there. But other times she's like, go fuck yourself. Anyways, that's my experience.
That chest is broken.
But that's a Holy Reckoning perspective. From a Holy Reckoning perspective, that thing is way fucking broken. So I'm curious about it from a Ret Reckoning perspective.
It's kind of the same.
Really?
That chest is insanely good, even for Ret Reckoning.
Huh. Do you advise it versus mages, or is it like, okay, I wouldn't take this against a frost mage, but I would take it against a fire mage? I would take it against a fire mage, 100%.
Yeah, I would definitely take it against a fire mage.
Shamans, I would take it.
I would take it against most casters, personally, but
I can see it being huge in BGs just because of all the random little spell effects that are going off all over the place.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was telling you about BGs as Reckoning, like there's all that AoE going off and stuff.
Yeah.
The same kind of applies to Thick Obsidian. It can imagine you're in a Rothi Basin, right?
Yeah.
And You have mages, casting Arcane Explosion, Priest, Swimming Holy Nova
Chain lightning
to try and
bouncing
spin
all
the
over
flag.
the
Like that
place.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That thing's gonna be proccing like crazy.
Oh yeah, she's a sexy beast. No,
So it gains a lot of benefit there. And dueling, I don't know how I feel about it in dueling for all matchups, but I would still wear it if I was wearing like a full anti-caster set like I linked you.
Yeah,
I would wear it for dueling.
Yeah, I saw that.
For general world PvP, like I said, if I didn't have the rank 13 gear, I would still wear thick obsidian breastplate or for world PvP and just general PvP because
You mean for like an all
I wouldn't have the
build? You don't know what the hell you're running into, so you're like, okay.
Exactly, you're going out in the world unprepared or like unknown, like of what you're gonna fight. So you just want to be prepared. That's why.
What I find fascinating about the open world matchup is the mobs. Like the fact that you can aggro mobs and they can be used to cancel certain things, like a lot of CC options from a player is a really big deal. So I actually feel a lot more comfortable in open world PvP, even if I'm the one getting jumped. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well, this might suck, but I can probably.
Oh yeah, especially Ret Reckoning is one of the best world PvP specs in the entire game, in my opinion, because pre-charge is the thing. Oh yeah.
Because what is the thing? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Pre-charging.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you get the stronger Reck bomb. Yeah.
I can build a 4th stack Reck bomb off of a mob, and I can just. It's like walking around. It's like driving around with a gun in your car, like. Yeah,
more like
that's my analogy.
A bazooka kind of a thing. You're like,
everyone
else has a gun. You got a fucking rocket launcher. You're like, nah, bro, I win this contest.
They try to jump you, and you're like, I mean, you sure you want to do that? I don't get jumped. I very rarely get. If I get jumped in world PvP, it's usually by a group because I always walk around and. I always walk around in world PvP.
Even then, when it's like multiple people, when it's like 2 or 3 people, you're kind of happy because you know you're gonna cut one of them to pieces. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. I scale hard with this situation.
Yeah, like if I get jumped by 2 people, I can very easily turn it to a 1v1 just by clicking on someone, and then it's like a fair fight.
Yeah. Well, it's like it just instantly turns into a duel. You're like, oh, okay, now we're dueling. That was fun. What I find funny is winning world matchups that you shouldn't win just because like you left the guy alive that you should leave alive. Like it's mage and rogue versus you, and you're like, well, I'm not killing the rogue. I'm gonna go cut this fucking mage to pieces. Thanks for the Reck charging, bro. Like the mage blinks into you because they like have this super confidence because there's this rogue around, and you're like, all right. Let's do this thing. It's so funny. Or Fury Warriors. I like leaving Fury Warriors alive. Anyways, we're getting way off topic here. Okay, so I wanted to talk about Thick Obsidian Breastplate. I wanted to talk about resistances from a Ret Reckoning perspective. Maybe we should talk a little bit about Deep Ret here in a bit, in case somebody's interested in that. But talk to me about building off of Avengers. In my opinion, the one I love Avengers. The problem I have with it is that she doesn't play well with other pieces of gear, and in particular, I can't use Thick Obsidian Breastplate and get the set bonus. That's the one thing that drives me insane as a Holy Reckoning Paladin and makes me use the Tier 2. From a Ret Reckoning perspective, if you had your mindset on Avengers, right, you're going to make your life easy, you're going to make your gearing path easy, what do you think about Avengers?
So, Avengers is it's like the budget set for Ret Reckoning because most paladins will get it, and it's very easy to get. So I have a build centered around using a 5 out of 5 Avengers because a lot of paladins just want to run that just to run it, and I don't think it's that good, but mainly because Thick Obsidian, the individual pieces are good, but the problem is that there are better. Like the full set is really good, right? But there are off pieces that could be better in the spots. You know what I mean?
Our BIS includes very little Avengers for a reason, like just straight up.
Yeah.
But
for me,
BIS is hard to get, isn't it? Like BIS is you're going to be a sweaty nerd getting BIS, to say the very least.
Yeah. So the problem with BIS is that the 2 hardest pieces to get, obviously, I mean the weapon, but the weapon is whatever. The hardest pieces to get are chromatic boots / Boots of the Fallen Hero, because Fury Warriors eat that shit for breakfast. And then Cloak of the Fallen God, because that's also kind of hard to get. Everything else is actually pretty easy to get. Ring Reckoning is not hard to get. Bronze Dragonflight, obviously, you just need rep. Braces of Brutality from AK-20, very easy to get. The hardest pieces to get are the boots and the cape. Gotcha. Now, so obviously, some people might say that the rank 13 gear.
Yeah, I was going to say, from a sweaty nerd perspective, the rank. What's awesome about rank gear is that it's not hard to get; it just costs time. You know what I mean? The rank gear might as well cost something like 100,000 gold a piece, or some crap like that, from like a sheer time perspective.
Yeah, if you compare like gold per hour from farming to like how much time you're spending.
So it's like 100 gold per hour. Like how much would you? But it's like, okay, it's sweaty to get the rank gear, but the rank gear is your best forever, kind of a scenario.
Right.
Okay. Whereas those other two pieces are, you have to enter the socio-political nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
So the Avengers chest is actually better
stat-wise. Yeah, stat-wise, she's fucking amazing. My problem is, it's like she doesn't play well with the Obsidian Breastplate. That's my issue.
So Field Marshal chestplate, I only run the Field Marshal chest for the 3-set bonus. If I feel like I don't really need it, which in most situations that's not the case, because the 3-set having a 35-second Hajj is insane.
Yes.
But if you didn't have that, the Avengers chest is insane, and then obviously Thick Obsidian Breastplate is just insane on its own. If I wasn't running the rank 13 chest, I would be running Thick Obsidian. I might even just be running it now, because I don't have chromatic boots.
And then the problem is, come Nax gear, it's like, at that point, we really have to consider just wearing Thick Obsidian, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it almost becomes necessary in Nax patch.
We'll see, though. Our DPS might be so insane at that point that the clap becomes so real that it might not be necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got I forget what it's called.
Might of Minithil?
Yeah, obviously Might of Minithil, but what's the chest?
There's a chest in Nax I don't know about? What the fuck?
There's a really good chest. It's BIS, but it's very hard to get.
It's like Fallen Grand Crusader or some shit like that?
No, it's a Fury Warrior chest, unfortunately.
Oh, fucking hell.
So that's why it's going to be hard to get. But it is better. It is insanely good, but I don't know. It's hard to say for Nax because we're not there yet. But for right now, Thick Obsidian, that kind of sucks. But if you're not running the Avengers set anyway, I would probably run it if you're not trying to get the 5 set. Mm-hmm. If you're not ranked 13, and you're not trying to run the 5 set for Avengers, you should probably wear Thick Obsidian, in my opinion. It's just so good. I don't know. That chest is broken.
Oh yeah.
For Ret Reckoning.
Yeah. She's hard to deny when you get right down to it. Okay, so I worked on this with McConnell a bit. It's like if I had to build around an Avengers set, I personally believe that the only way to really make Avengers set work. Well, first we should talk about the pros to the Avengers set before I talk shit about it. So the major pros to the Avengers set, in my personal opinion, is number one, you can get it easily, right? You don't have to be a sweaty nerd to get this. You can literally raid log and get your Avengers set. Number two, she's actually a very good all-comers set with the 5-piece bonus. Like, she's not the best. Your hit points are a little low, but we'll talk about that in a second when I get into it. Your hit points are a little low for Avengers. However, the fact that you still have like a substantial mana bar and you still have a good chunk of spell power means that you're not going to feel too terribly bad if you get jumped by like a warrior. You know what I mean? Like you could in my brain you could go like Edward the Odd and then pick a shield of your choice against a warrior in Avengers, and you can probably beat their dick off. It's like you just abandon the seal of command. You go Seal of Righteousness. You find your Edward the Odd. You roll the shield. If you're in Avengers, you can probably beat their dick off. You agree with me on that one or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. If you actually look at the anti-melee set I have, I am running 5 out of 5 Avengers for that spell power. It's like,
oh, is that what I was looking at? I saw one with like a shield, and I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at here?
Yeah, that's the anti-melee, specifically anti-warrior. But it could be just.
So you have a Deathbringer. I can see that, but Deathbringer over Edward the Odd ?
It's just because it's slow, so
Eh?
good synergy with a command.
Oh, I see. Okay,
2.9.
so you're using command. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can use command. Honestly,
No, I agree.
I
I think the breakpoint between the two is it's like, how much defense do you think this fucking warrior has? Because if this warrior has a lot of defense, then you're going to want to immediately go to a faster SOR based attack plan. You know what I mean?
yeah. So it depends on what they're wearing. If they're not like a defense warrior, then I might just say fuck it and go two-hander with seal command.
I don't. Eh.
If I'm going one-hander, I'll probably go with seal. So I don't know. Drakova tells me seal righteousness all the way against the warrior, and I agree with that. But there are some times where I don't know. I just sometimes command just feels better to use. But this the theory basically the idea of this build is righteousness with spell power, a combination of spell power gear with defense gear to basically just fuck the warrior's day and just make it to where he can't hit you at all ever.
Okay, say that again because my brain died. So you're like righteousness, seal of
seal righteousness with like you're wearing spell power gear, which is why you run the 5 out of 5 Avengers, and then basically the rest of you basically just run full Avengers, and then the rest of your gear is tank gear.
Yeah, I'm looking at parry. Oh, I see why. Parry. Now I'm seeing why you're liking the Deathbringer. It's the parry haste.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be proccing a lot.
All right. So you're really working the parry haste then. One sec. I gotta answer the door apparently.
Oh, sure.
All right. Recording again. Okay. Yeah. So honestly, I would say season to taste in this case. If Dracova's saying one thing and Telreyne's saying another, I would say season to taste is your best option. Have an Edward the Odd and also have the slowest one-hander you can find. Preferably a Deathbringer. Deathbringer is also hard to get, wouldn't you say? Like you I don't know though. You can soft res it. You can do like
it's easy to get now. It's okay. So it's way easier to get now because a lot of people have better one-handers now for PvE. It's also really nice that we play Alliance because not a lot of people on Alliance want to go for Axes. That thing is impossible to get on Horde.
Oh, really?
I have a friend that wants it for his enhancement shaman, and he says even if phase 5 doesn't get.
That's funny.
So it's nice. Honestly, the main reason I want the proc or I want the Deathbringer is for the proc because the proc will ignore their plate.
Oh no, I agree. The big thing the big negative, however, with it is that it's going to do the exact same SOR damage as any other weapon speed. Like it's just a law of the land. Are you using max rank SOR with this thing?
Depends. If I'm not too familiar with SOR builds because I mean I used to tank a lot and my memory of SOR was a lot better then than it is now.
Okay.
But max rank I know is really good, and I believe rank 3 is the most mana efficient version.
Yes.
Okay.
So the way SOR works, I say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. So all the SOR ranks have 15% spell power ratio for one-hander and a 20% spell power ratio for two-hander, except for fucking rank 3. Rank 3 is the odd boy. He's got plus 5% to both, so he's doing 20% for the one-hander and 25% for the two-hander. What this tends to mean is once you get certain spell power ratios, the rank 3 isn't only better, but it doesn't matter what the speed of your weapon is anymore, if that makes any sense. So it's like, I'll give you an example. When I was testing it with McConnell, like I would put on a Flurry Axe, that's 1.5 second speed. I'm doing like 90 damage per auto attack with my SOR. I put on my Ebon Hand, which is 2.5 second speed. I'm doing 92. With rank 3. If I switch from rank 3 to max rank, however, suddenly I'm doing like 72 damage, irregardless with the Ebon Hand, and I'm doing like 50 something with the Flurry Axe. So you really need to look into it. The big difference, however, between Deathbringer and whether or not to use max rank or not, because I'm looking at this gearing and I'm like, okay, well, I don't think you have enough spell power to be using the rank 3. And the biggest difference between rank 3 and max rank is your judgment damage. So when I judge a rank 3 in my current gear, I do like 250. When I judge a max rank, I do like 350. So I'm losing like 10 DPS 10 magic damage based DPS by using the rank 3 over the max rank. If I was using a Deathbringer, this situation becomes even more substantial because the seal might do a little bit more damage if I'm using rank 3, but to lose 100 DPS from the judgment, not DPS, 100 damage from the judgment is a big fucking deal, especially since, do you have improved, you got the talents over here, do you have improved, no you don't have improved judgment. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, but you got Vindication. Oh, look at you. You got Vindication. That'll fuck a warrior in the ass. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a noob and I run Pursuit of Justice. I should run 3 out of 3 Vindication, but like I said, I'm a noob. Drakova gets mad about it. He's like, "Why are you running Pursuit of Justice?" But
I don't know, man. The extra 70 hit points. That's how I look at this thing. It's like extra hit points.
It's just like, I mean, it is 3 out of 3 Vindication is better. I don't know. I like Stam. I have a boner for Stam.
I got a boner for Stamina too. If I was playing Ret Reckoning, I'd probably use this build. I'm not kidding. Because I don't fear the warrior matchup quite that much to not be like, let's turn down 70 hit points.
It's just for mages, honestly. That's mages and hunters. That's why I have it, honestly. With Pursuit of Justice, I can run more Stam and still catch the mage.
Well, the really dumb thing about Pursuit of Justice is theoretically it sucks a dick until you think about the mount movement speed increase. You know what I mean?
Mount speed is nice.
Open world, you can actually chase somebody down if you have to, but that's neither here nor there. Yep. Okay, so I was talking about the pros with the Avengers. The pros with the Avengers, in my personal opinion, are that they you're not going to feel bad. You got the mana and you got the hit points to really get things done. The spell power. Yeah, my bad. The hit points are an issue, though. The hit points to get things done. Hit points are an issue. I think, however, with the Avengers, you can fix a lot of the hit point issues by getting the proper trinkets. So, for example, I'm a big fan that if you're using 5 out of 5 Avengers, especially if your heart is set on Ashbringer, then you're going to have to try to find a Burrow Shell trinket, right? So the Burrow Shell trinket's on it doesn't say it here, but it's on a 2-minute cooldown. So to absorb 900 damage on a 2-minute cooldown is actually kind of bullshit and can make a lot of the builds that shouldn't work suddenly work. Would you agree with me on that, Telreyne?
Yeah, I would agree with that. The thing about Burrow Shell is it's just to view the trinket as just like a free 90 stam. You know?
Yeah.
And 90 stam is a lot of stam. And it's obviously all paladins should try to get it. But if you're running the RP set, as I call it, which is 5 out of 5 Avengers with Ashbringer, you probably not if you're running the RP set, you probably don't have a lot of stamina. So like Burrow Shell was like essential. Like you will need to run that for everything.
Oh yeah, pretty much. The other thing that I think the Avengers set doesn't quite have the same clap as the BIS. You know what I mean? It doesn't quite hit as hard. Am I wrong about that?
It's not for. Okay, so it depends.
Ooh.
Right? For Ret Reckoning, it doesn't because Avengers is more for like a balance between white hit damage and judgment and like seal damage. While for Ret Reckoning, you want to prioritize your white hit damage.
That's a good question. Do you actually know the ratio on Seal Command? Drakova never bothered to test it.
Oh boy, it was 22% on the judgment, 24% on the proc. If it might be the other way around, but it's about that.
Okay. Huh. So it's high. It's high enough that it's there, but it's not like 40% like we were.
Don't quote me on that. It's probably going to be a paladin in the comment section that crucifies me for that. But that's just off the top of my head. I think it's that.
All right. So continue what you're saying. You're saying it's a well-rounded between the white damage and the
seal damage. That's why it's so good for PvE. Because it's like a really good balance, and it's better for deep ret because of that. Because deep ret is kind of like about maximizing the damage. Deep ret's more about seal damage than it is white hit damage, but it is a little bit of both. I can't speak too much on deep ret because I don't play it anymore, and I haven't played it since like early phase 2. But
it is something we need to talk about, deep ret. So I think deep ret really likes a mana bar. Like if you're not mana barring a deep Ret, I don't think deep Ret's a happy Ret. Am I wrong about
Deep
that?
Ret, deep Ret, you can get away playing deep Ret if you're just running like tier and stuff. Tier with like melee DPS off pieces, and you can just play deep Ret just fine.
Gotcha. But again, you have a mana bar. It's not like this.
The tier gear, like tier 2, Avengers, even tier 1, they have a lot of int on them, so you will have a mana bar playing deep Ret if that's how you're itemizing.
Gotcha. What's your mana bar like as Biss in Ret Reckoning by comparison? With the rank gear, you got some chunky mana on it. I'm looking at it now.
That's actually one thing I like about the rank gear is the int. I have 3.7k int in the Biss gear.
Oh shit! Okay, so you actually got some mana. Oh, it's down here. Yeah, 3.7.
That's a lot more. I know Drakova talks.
Fucking Drakova's like 2,400 mana, and he gets away with it. But he's a madman sometimes.
Yeah, his opinion is really good, and I probably should listen to it. But I use mana a lot because I don't know. I think. Okay, so I think I think having lots of mana can be a crutch.
Yeah, Drakova talks about that too. He says the exact same thing.
Because when you have a big mana bar, you kind of get in the habit of doing things that you wouldn't do if you didn't have a lot of mana.
Yeah.
And
like not using rank 1 seals when you're planning on using not being efficient.
Yeah.
Not switching between rank 1 and max rank command. When you do the judge,
doing
consecrating,
like that,
which is please stay away from the consecrations. We shouldn't have it as Ret Reckoning, so.
Yeah.
But what are you doing with your mana that's bad, specifically?
Spam cleansing is kind of not always the best thing to do.
Yeah, I can see that.
Cleanse mana can add up over time. Resealing constantly. That's why I don't run Improved Judgment, because as Ret Reckoning, you're not itemizing. You usually won't have the mana bar to be judging off cooldown every time, so It doesn't really matter having Imp Judgment or not.
Gotcha. Huh.
So yeah.
Okay.
In Biss gear, you usually won't have too much mana. It gets better as the game progresses because Ret in general gets better itemization. Like, if I was not wearing ranking gear and this wasn't AQ phase, then I would have like 2,400 mana. Like, I would have no mana because I would just be wearing full warrior gear.
Yeah, that's exactly what. And Drakova makes it work, and he's very specific about how he makes it work.
You can make it work.
I had to learn. He's like, "Do you see me judging seals over here?" That's like, what is his famous line? His famous line is, "The hardest thing to do is nothing, but the correct thing to do is nothing." Yeah.
He's definitely told me that before. I learned how to play Ret Reckoning without mana, so like I think I kind of got lucky by learning to rank spells and stuff. But it is a bad habit that a lot of paladins can get into. They don't know how to manage.
Okay, so people who are they didn't touch Reckoning at all, and then they're getting their Avengers set, they might have some bad habits.
It's not the worst. I mean.
You got a mana bar. Like if I go over here to, let me see where it is. Yeah, so it's the same mana.
Generally speaking, for Ret Reckoning, it isn't really a stat you care about. It's nice to have. It's like spell power. When you have it, it's nice, but you don't really care about. Like, you don't really care for it.
Yeah, there's better things on your mind. What are your hit point totals? What's your crit chance? What's your clap look like?
Deep Ret is different, but
Yeah, so let's talk about Deep Ret. Let's switch over to Deep Ret. I know you're not the guy to talk to, but the guy to talk to doesn't make guides, aka S-Fan. I like to think, actually, technically, I think Drakova knows how to play Deep Ret really well.
Yeah, Drakova knows.
He just hates it, because the moment you start talking to him about Deep Ret, he's constantly bitching about how it's not Ret Reckoning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that spec definitely makes him angry. But I definitely think Drakova. Yeah, I mean, I think Drakova knows more about Deep Ret than S-Fan. Honestly, Medge, that paladin you and I were talking about the other day from Apes, I found him to be probably one of the more knowledgeable Deep Ret paladins out there. He and I talked a lot about Deep Ret.
Oh, and, sweet. I might have to try to bring him on a Pallycast. We can actually do a Deep Ret guide.
I don't agree with some of his opinions, but then again, it's not really my place to say because I don't play Deep Ret as much. So.
Well, Paladin's one of those things where we're never going to agree, right? Because it is a very much a seasoned to taste class. Like there are some things we all agree on. What the fuck is your hit point cap? Are you doing enough damage in the clap? Do you even need the clap? But past that, it's really a season to taste, to be perfectly honest. Because you can get the job done in a variety of ways, but you can't get the job done dead, and you can't get the job done when you don't have the DPS. Like let's just be real about that.
Yeah, Drakova knows a lot about Deep Ret because he and I have talked about it a lot in the past, but he definitely is biased against that spec. But in my opinion. But
no, yeah, I don't think he's biased. I think his framing is just biased. You know what I mean? Because the moment I start talking about Deep Ret, he's like, "But Ret Reckoning's better. But Ret Reckoning's better. It can do this. But Ret Reckoning's better." I'm like, "Fuck off! I know it's better. Just relax."
I'm the same way. That's why I don't talk about Deep Ret very much because that spec makes me mad. But I'm willing to have a conversation about it.
Maybe I should start playing it because I think it's going to be more my play style. Anyways, let's talk about Deep Ret, your experience. I'll talk about it from my experience. So the things I like about Deep Ret is, number one, she's easy to gear, right? I mean,
very
basically,
easy to
you just need fucking Avengers and then maybe even some tier 2 and you're good to go, right? Avengers, tier 2. Yeah, you agree with me on that?
Like, you could wear 8 out of 8 tier 2, which is extremely easy to get for paladins.
Yeah.
And then just all your off pieces be like MDPS off pieces, like melee rings, like a melee, like a weapon, like a neck, a cape.
I recall
Drakova
loved something about Deep Ret and working around the judgment command damage when your target is stunned or incapacitated. And then he would start using fucking trinkets like either Goblin Mortar and or fucking Tidal Charm. And he was a big fucking fan of like those two combos. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so the one that I have the most experience, so when I think Deep Ret, there are two specs that come to my mind, which is Classic Ret, which is Repentance with Consecration, and Control Ret, which is Repentance with Impage.
Impage. Okay, that's a gearing difference, not a talent difference? Or is it?
No, it's a talent difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. You got to go deep enough in protection tree.
Classic Ret is 11 8 32, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, 11 8 32.
Yeah, you get the hit. And no, do you get improved bop? No improved bop.
No, you get 2 points a hit. You don't get 3, so it does require more hit. 2 points a hit, you get 2 points and improved bop. You get Consecrate, and then you get Repentance. And then there's Control Ret, which is probably the deep. I played this pick the most before I got into Ret Reckoning, and it is 0 points Holy, 18 points Ret, or 18 points Prot, just to get improved Hammer of Justice, and then 33 points Ret. So the main difference between the two is that Control Ret is purely a dueling spec. It's not very good for World PvP. It's not really good for BGs. It's just purely like a 1v1ing spec. That's what it is. Deep Ret is much more flexible, or Classic Ret, as I like to call it, like old school Ret, is a lot more flexible. And also the nice thing about old school Ret is that you can PvE with it and PvP with it just fine, which I know that is a big thing for a lot of paladins. A lot of paladins are very cheap and they don't want to respec.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I understand. I've probably spent tens of thousands of gold respecking in this game, but that's fine. But yeah, so the main difference between Deep Ret and Reckoning specs is the control, right? Because you have Repentance, and Repentance is huge.
Yes.
Closing the gap and things like that.
You sacrifice clap, but you have control. And that's not to say that Deep Ret doesn't have clap. Specifically, it's that Deep Ret doesn't have a consistent, dependable clap, like Reckoning does.
Exactly. And this is what I tell people when I speak my opinion on Deep Ret. It's like, Deep Ret has its moments where you hit you judge command for 1100 and get like a 1200 seal command proc and you just like one shot someone out of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is that is way less consistent damage, and it's when it happens it's insane, but it doesn't happen as often as Reckoning. You know what I mean?
Not as dependably is
it's not as dependable. Yeah. That's
which is why when I describe the Deep Ret playstyle, I describe it as like jousting. It's like you're jumping on your opponent. you're looking at the RNG from your auto attacks, and then you're deciding whether or not you're going to pull the trigger on any additional offense. Are you going to go for the kill based upon what your RNG did from the auto attack? And if the RNG did not go well for you, then you're going to play a bit more defensively. You're going to try to heal back up and get the joust in again. And by jousting, it means literally you run at the enemy, you hit them, you see the results, and then you'll try to stay on them to do some more damage. You might even just stop and heal yourself. If we're talking classic Ret. But you're a lot more tanky. There's a lot to talk about with it. But, okay, so it's just not consistent. In my personal opinion, you've got maybe three jousts to make it work, and then if you haven't made it work in 3 jousts, you need to run away. Is that your experience, or you got a completely different experience?
No, that's kind of my experience. It's very jousty spec.
So what's the first thing you do? Do you like repent them and then run up to them and look for some look what the RNG is? Is that like the first thing you do? Like you save your stun?
Usually you'll save your stun. Yeah, I mostly use repentance as a gap closer for ranged matchups. Or if I need to get if I need to stun them, or if I know like they have their trinket up and I need a stun, I'll usually repentance instead of Hodge because they can't trinket. I don't think any classes can trinket out of repentance.
So I got a question. So I know Drakova swears by control Ret over classic Ret, meaning he doesn't have any he doesn't have spiritual focus and he doesn't have consecration. Yeah. Now, if you watch what he does, he makes damn sure that he has the 35-second cooldown, so he actually gets some rank gear. You can make sure you don't have the 35-second cooldown, but ideally you want it. But more importantly, he's healing off his fucking grenades. Like I think that's the most important skill you can have for like deep Ret in general. Just from a casual observer looking at it, but particularly from if you're going to go the more control Ret route. Ideally, you'd want to use your grenades for offensive capabilities, but if you have to, you use them for just healing.
Right, and that's why having a mana bar and having a lot of like spell power and stuff is actually a lot more beneficial for deep Ret, is because you're healing a lot more and you have a lot more chances to heal because you're stunning. Like you imagine So imagine dueling a deep Ret paladin with goblin mortar and tidal charm and nades.
Fuck
right? He's got improved Hodge with ranking gear. Yeah. So he's got 35-second Hodge. He's got repentance. He's got
repentance is on mortar. A minute. 35-second judge. He's got the mortar and the
tidal charm and
tidal charm to substitute. And so you're gonna have to suffer a chain of stuns. For what is that? That's like 12 stuns before he starts running out of stuns.
It's a lot of stuns, and a lot of the times like after he's done with his first wave of stuns, usually a lot of his if you use like Hodge or Leon or
and let's be very specific. The really amazing thing about the control stun style, which again I think is what I've seen Drakova do the most and talk about the most, is that not only do you get to use the stuns to close the distance, which allows the joust in the first place, but the tidal charms might as well do an extra like 500 damage, right? Because you get the judgment along with it. That's kind of the kicker.
And that's why all the stuns in that build are so good, is because why spell power is really good for builds like that, because you're having a lot of opportunities to judge command, and you can hit some fat judgment of commands. That thing can do a lot.
Yeah, so like you'll run up and you'll joust, and like you can literally go through the RNG sequence. It's like, did my melee attack crit? Yes or no. Did my command proc? Yes or no. Did my command crit? Yes or no. And then another one in there is, did my fucking judgment crit or not? You know what I mean? Because the other two might not do anything, but if that judgment crits, it might be the time to pull the trigger on some additional offense.
Right. And you can like stun, judge, and then start healing, because judgment doesn't share. It doesn't have
that is a bullshit thing. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
You could judge if it doesn't crit. All right, this isn't time to blow burst. Like I don't need to. You could maybe like judge if you see it stunned. You can just keep autoing and then maybe throw in a sapper.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I mean by pulling the trigger on the offense.
Yeah.
You want to hold certain abilities in reserve specifically to go for the offense. So the most when I look at it from just a pure theory crafting perspective, the most potent offensive capability is you repented your target. You now run up to your target. You do the judge auto attack combo, and then that's doing enough damage that suddenly you're like, I can pull the trigger on some additional offense, and that comes in the form of your 6-second stun, plus like the Goblin Sappers and a bunch of other stuff that you might throw into the mix. I think ideally you don't want to use the Sappers, you want to use a Thorium Grenade, just because I think it lets you get off an extra melee attack. I could be wrong about that.
I think it's situational, but yeah, generally, grenade.
Oh yeah, totally situational. Like sometimes, like if I ran up as Deep Ret and I just watched like the RNGs come my way on my auto attack and my command and my judgment, like I'm seeing the damage just come out, right? I'm just gonna Goblin Sapper and just end it immediately, especially if it's a class I know that can just get away from me, like a mage. Like often you'll repent a mage and they'll sit the damn thing. They're like, okay, whatever, come on over here. Since you have repent, I know you don't have the clap. But then sometimes,
This is an old video that I sent you of me dueling as Deep Ret. This is something me and Drakova came up with a long time ago. I think this is like during phase 2. But it is a dueling strat against rogues as Control Ret. It's just kind of like an example of the burst. I just sent it to you if you want to watch it real quick. It was basically just like wearing my full PvE gear, and then as the second the kidney shot, like hit me with a kidney shot, he would still be on global cooldown. I would trinket instantly.
Oh, you motherfucker! Okay, yeah. So you trinket him, you'd instantly hodge him. Yeah, no, they have the clap. It's just that I suppose technically they have a. From a non-Wreck Bomb clap perspective, they have a better clap.
They have a really good. They have. It's like, I think Classic Ret has an overall better clap, but this spec has more control, so it's just overall. It's like I said, this spec is like a pure 1v1ing spec.
Right. Well, it's not about the clap with Deep Ret. It's about pulling the slot machine lever, right?
Yeah. So it's about poking. It's about poking, and then when you find a gap, when you find the right opportunity, you pull the trigger. But it's about like poking at them until you find the right opportunity.
Well, the way I look at it is it's like only 1 out of 4 of my jousts is going to be a pull the trigger joust.
Right.
Yeah. Like just statistically, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, I need at least 2 things to go right. There are 3 potential things that can go right. I need 2. Like I either need my auto attack I either need Seal of Command to proc, and my auto attack and one of those to crit, and or I need like if neither of those crit, like I auto attack them, I get a command proc, neither of those crit, but the judgment crits, then that might be enough to pull the auto attack. So I need 2 out of whatever the hell, I think it's 3 RNGs this is, that can happen there. You know what I mean? I need either a crit or I need you need something to crit, right? Like you can't pull the trigger on it with a no crit.
Yeah, you want vengeance there. You want vengeance when it's time to go hard.
Yeah, I think it's just a raw math thing, because you'll hit for like 500, command will come out for like 500, and then I think you end up judging for like about 500 or something like that. And that's only 1,500 points of damage. Where if something crit, you're immediately adding. Well, God, if the command crit, then you're adding another 500. So, yeah, you're just adding another 5. No, is it 5? The command crits get way up there, bro. I don't know. Anyways. Okay, so the pros of Deep Ret are it's very easy to gear. She's actually quite tanky. Like, I'm not gonna lie. She's a very good. She's also very good at I don't like this situation. Let me get the fuck out of this situation. That is a really big deal.
Here's my stance on Deep Ret. I think Deep Ret is the spec to play if you know you're not going to be able to get access to the gear required to play Ret Reckoning. And I also think that Deep Ret is the best spec on early, like it's the best Ret spec on in like phase 1, like early on a server,
Mhm.
because the burst of deep ret doesn't really require much gear, while the burst of Ret Reckoning, while overall better, is more gear dependent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also
So
I
like,
also think there's a massive skill difference between the two. Like if you're a new
oh, there.
paladin, yeah.
Oh yeah, there definitely is. Like I definitely think deep red is a lot, or like the deep red specs are a lot easier to learn. It kind of gives you like a good idea of like
Yeah,
how red plays,
and you can
and then
also graduate from one to the other. You can start off with the classic, and then you can graduate from classic into the more control oriented once you figure out how to heal off your grenades. Because there will come a time when you get so skilled with the classic ret, you start asking yourself, why the fuck do I even need spiritual focus? And that's when
yeah.
it's time to graduate over to control ret. Okay, so the major downsides to Ret. Okay, let's talk about the gearing. I would still agree with the deep Ret that you need to hit your hit point break points, right? You're still going to want over 5,000 hit points. You're also probably going to want just as much crit as you can possibly get your hands on.
Yeah.
Spell power I think is a more prioritized stat though. So would you go with like the Ret Reckoning pieces like Boots of the Falling Hero and Cloak of the Fallen God, or do you think you just like sit in tier 2?
I think I wouldn't
Or
sit in tier
rank gear.
2.
Rank gear. That's probably better.
Rank gear synergizes really well with the deep red specs.
Does it though? Because it's that it doesn't play well with Avengers, right? So you're stuck
It's
going.
like
Yeah.
well, deep red with Avengers is extremely good. Deep, like 5 out of 5 Avengers is extremely strong for deep red. Just because of how balanced the stats are, and for deep
Right.
red,
Right. You got that
more
spell
balanced.
power. You got that mana. You got the crit. You got all
You've
kinds of
got
stuff you
spell
need.
power. You have attack power.
Yeah.
You have stam.
Yeah.
You have int. You have melee crit. You have some spell crit thrown in
Right.
there.
So I'm looking at it from a perspective of like, yeah, ideally you probably want some rank gear mixed in with like Avengers. But let's say you're just a raid logging kind of guy, and you're just like, okay, I want to build out, I want to go deep ret, and I want to build it around Avengers. What would you do? Like, what are the other pieces? Is the question. You sit in tier 2. Tier 2 sounds good. Could be wrong.
Tier 2's not bad. My thing with tier 2 though is that generally, if I can't wear the 5-piece, I don't really care for T2.
Well, here's a question for you: how valuable is the hit? Because if I'm wearing Avengers plus tier 2, I don't think I'm really approaching hit. Well, no, you got the points. I don't know. Like where are you getting your hit gear? Don Julio's?
You'd have to get it from rings, yeah, like Don Julio's, maybe Oni neck.
Yeah, I can
you
see that. Yeah.
That's your hit right there. Your
Yeah.
5% is.
Yeah.
If you have, well, I mean, if you're playing control ret, you will have 3 out of 3 precision. Classic ret, you'll have 2 out of 3, so you'll need an extra 1%.
But I think as classic ret, you can sit on like a 1% miss chance. Like Drakova might bitch at me about this, but from my perspective, consecration, you might as well just accept it.
Here's my thing is that I would still go for 5 because that would affect my
The
command.
slot machine pulls. Oh yeah, your command and your judgment, and your stun. More importantly, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to affect. I mean, obviously, consecration, you don't need hit for that, obviously. But yeah, the big thing for me would just be my judgments of command, or my command in general, whether it be a judgment or a seal proc being like resisted or missing, whatever. Because of not
Yeah, well, a miss in general is bad. It's just I'm thinking like raw statistically. I personally think I understand the argument for getting max hit cap for Reckoning, just because of the way it works. But like for Holy Reckoning, you can do without getting max hit, just because you're not reliant on. It's not as whatever. It's not as bad for you to miss an attack, basically.
Yeah, I'm not as when I play Holy Reckoning. The few times I do, I'm not as picky about my hit cap.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Deep ret. I think control ret is. If we're going to talk about anything being good, it'll be control ret over classic ret. Like the differences between the two are kind of massive. I think the gearing is almost the same though, right? Except you suddenly want some rank gear.
The gearing is the same. Generally, control ret though. Here's my thing is like, I think control ret with with the 3-piece rank set bonus, from Marshall for the Marshall control ret with Marshall gear is one of the best dueling specs for Paladin. It is extremely good for dueling, but the downside of control ret, like I mentioned earlier, is just that it is basically a purely dueling spec. But the itemization is pretty much the same. You're basically just rank tier with melee DPS off pieces for control ret and deep ret. Like I even like back in the day, like I basically just wore like in phase 1, I basically just wore tier 1 with like melee rings and like a melee cape, and I was fine. The tier gear is decently statted enough to get you by. Obviously, it's not this, but it's easy to get, and the spec is easy to itemize for.
To be perfectly honest, though, if you're going control ret, you might as well just get rank 12. I consider rank 12 to be easy to get.
Rank 12 is rank 12. When I was ranking before, getting rank 12 was like the easy part. After rank 12 was the hard part.
It's a fucking nightmare. And the difference, honestly, getting rank 13 is even easy. Getting rank 14 is like cancerous ass. Like that's my thought process.
Yeah, 13 is actually not even that hard to get. It's just 14 because I don't know how familiar you are with brackets and stuff like that.
No,
but,
I tried ranking a little bit, and I got to like rank 10, and I was like, dude, fuck this nonsense. It's not worth it for Holy Reckoning.
13 to 14 is the biggest hurdle to jump because you have to spend at least 3 to 4 weeks in bracket
1, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, which is
for rank 13, you sit and you get a few bracket. You get like 5 bracket 1s in rank 13. I mean, at rank 12, you're good to go.
A friend of mine that I ranked with he got to rank 12 just by sitting bracket 3, and then he went from 12 to 13 sitting bracket 2.
I see what you're saying. He
had a much more laid back.
Bracket 3 caps out at 12, right?
Yeah.
Like if you sat at bracket 3 forever, you might get 13 in like a million years.
It would be hard, and it would take a long time. But yeah, you can get 13 from bracket 3. I think. Don't quote me. My ranking math used to be good, but
I'm pretty sure you'll get it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. 'Cause otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. You'd never get rank 14 by sitting in bracket 1 if it didn't work that way. You know what I mean?
I spent 2 weeks in bracket. I spent 2 weeks at rank 12 though, because I did my first week of rank 12, I was bracket 1, and then my second week I was bracket. Wait, no, sorry. My first week of rank 12, I was bracket 2, then my second I was rank 1 or bracket 1. So it only took me 2 weeks. But usually it's
if you're bracket 1, you can get out. You can go from rank 12 to rank 13 really quick.
Yeah, because you're getting more RP or rank points.
Wow. Okay.
It was a very minor difference. I was at rank 13 1%. So it was a very.
So what you're telling me is, if you're ranked 12, you might as well go 13. That's not Drakova's experience, though. He has a life, so I'm just curious.
Drakova, I mean, I talked to him a lot about it. He had a lot going on in his life, so I don't blame him. But yeah, generally, if you go to 12, you should get 13. It is not that much harder. It's just a couple more weeks of not that much hard of a
At worst, it'll be bracket 2 for a month.
Yeah, at worst, it's like bracket 2 for like 3 weeks.
It's like 3 weeks of bracket 2. Okay.
Yeah, I got it in 2 because I was bracket 1 of those weeks. But yeah, it's 12 to 13. I believe is just 3 weeks of bracket 2.
I know it's a pain in the ass to go from 1 to 12. I know that much because I've done that practically.
1 to 12, yeah, it's kind of rough. I kind of got lucky because I got a bracket 2 spot pretty early in my ranking time. But yeah, if you're running bracket 3 most of the time, 1 to 10 is easy. 10 to 12 is a little tricky if you're bracket 3, but it's not the worst. Anyway, I was just gonna say that yes, back to control ret and all that. If you get 12, you should go 13. You're dumb if you don't, but I understand if you have things going on.
Got a life, yeah.
But yes, you should at least get 12 if you plan to play control ret seriously. I played it back in the day just to learn it, but I don't recommend it without ranking gear, honestly.
What trinkets would you recommend besides like Tidal Charm and
Death
Goblin
Ray.
Bar? Really? Oh
100%.
yeah, Death Ray. Yeah,
100% Death Ray. Yeah.
I can see that. The clap's
Use
not
some cheap-
the clap's not as Death Ray's not as good as it was on private, but it's still pretty good.
No,
right?
a piece of it is broken, but yeah, the burst from it is definitely nice.
I'm wondering what else would
Definitely
be
nice
really
damage
good.
because damage trinkets in general would be not too bad. The meteor trinket for me
Yeah,
kind of fun.
yeah. Even like double burst trinkets, like if you wanted to go with the
Or
fuck is it?
scrolls, honestly, scrolls would not be bad.
Well, a budget burst build would be like there's Goblin Bomb Dispenser, there's 6 Demon Bag. 6 Demon Bag has 100% spell power ratio if you don't know. So she'll reach out, bitch slap something for like 500 points of damage. She's also really sick in the sense that she's got like a 1 in 3 chance that it's a Frostbolt that comes out and slows your target for 5 seconds. That's what I've been using it for, is Holy Reckoning.
Bag is, if I was playing like a spell power build, I would definitely, and you needed a burst trinket, 6 Demon Bag. Like if you're running like a tier 2 deep ret build, like 6 Demon Bag would be good for sure.
Yeah, it's Goblin Bomb
That thing
Dispenser
is
is
hard.
always the problem is the cooldowns on it, which is why Meteor is really awesome, because it's got like a 2-minute cooldown.
But in my opinion, when it comes to control ret versus deep ret, I think control ret is better with rank gear and for dueling. I think deep or classic ret, I think, is more well-rounded and is easier to gear.
It's also easier to learn.
It is very easy to learn. And it has a lot. It has the most tools of. It has the most. It's just the most well-rounded. Like Consecrate is nice.
She's good.
You have Consecrate. You have
Consecration is actually a massive damage bonus to your burst. Like, I'm not gonna lie,
It is.
She's a big deal.
I was convinced of that. I used to think it wasn't, but I was playing Holy Reckoning and I was dueling warriors, and I was like, "Oh my god, Consecrate is like all my damage."
Oh yeah, it's even dumber too, because if you got enough spell power, it's like just use rank 1, even against warriors. They treat it like, because what the warriors want to do when I'm consecrating on them is they're like, "Oh, this dumbass paladin consecrate, I'm just gonna run out of it," and then I just stand there and I start healing myself. And they're like, oh shit, I gotta get back in the Consecrate to stop this fucker from healing. So your options are either do rank 1 and just sit there and laugh at them with a shield, or you just cast max rank and you force them to come back in as you heal yourself. You know what I mean? So what I've found ideally is I just use rank 1 and Edward the Odd and I laugh at them. But that's just me. But you can always find your max rank if you have to. It's just so mana intensive to do max rank. You know what I mean? So I've kind of learned to not do max rank against rogues, for example, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because a rogue will just wear me down mana-wise, and it's like, I think my rank 1s tick for like 27 damage a second, and my max ranks tick for like 65. So it's like, all right, whatever. What the hell else is there about Deep Ret before we get into matchup specifics? She's actually she's pretty simple class in my opinion, or are we underestimating the depths of it?
It has depth to it. It's definitely it's tricky to play, but it's definitely one of the easier ret specs to play.
How does she work when it's not a 1v1? Because I know how Reckoning works when it's not a 1v1.
You mean like in a 2v2 or like a 1v2?
Either like a 2v, either it's you. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm talking like it's you versus 2 other people, versus or battlegrounds, because I don't think battlegrounds counts as a 1v1 under a lot of conditions. Sometimes you have the 1v1 in the battleground, but not often.
So I think classic ret is actually really good if you're doing like a team fight, like a 2v2 or something. Or control ret. Just Repentance is really good for stuff like that. Battlegrounds, it's hard to say. Battleground, I don't know. I have not.
You're trying really hard not to say, but Ret Reckoning is better. All right, let's go to it. Let's go to it. Why is Ret Reckoning better?
There's just more damage going around.
Okay.
So you have more chances to Reckoning. so you're getting more consistent damage. And the control from Deep Ret isn't really necessary in like a big battleground fight, and like in a big team fight, it's not as, especially if you're pugging. Which if you're Ret Paladin, you probably are pugging. The control isn't really as needed. You just want the damage. It's not bad, but it's just whatever in my opinion. Deep Ret is like a dueling spec, like just repentance specs in general. I just view them as like dueling specs. That's kind of how I see it.
I would say that the awesome thing about Reckoning in Battlegrounds and in the 1v2 matchup is that your damage spikes like a motherfucker. So, for example, I'll give you an example of my experience as Holy Reckoning. So, I'm a Holy Reckoning. I'm in a battleground. I'm tanky as fuck. I'm just going to run right into the front lines. Like, let's say I'm pugging, right? I'm just having fun. I'm going to find, like, the nearest healer or clothy, and I'm going to stick on him. If that's a shaman, so be it. But I'm going to find, like, the nearest, preferably a shaman, honestly, because I've got the spell power as opposed to the physical damage. So I'm not trying to find a clothy. I'm trying to find something with armor just to be a dick. But I'll jump on top of, like, a healing shaman or a DPSing shaman, and I'll start beating on them. And 9 times out of 10, I do not have the DPS to kill them. But I can also 100% guarantee that his fellow Horde players are eventually going to get around to also attacking me, and they're going to greatly enhance my DPS, which probably means that I die, but I'm going to take this motherfucker with me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, yeah. It's like a rogue or a Fury Warrior jumps on you, and it's just like, thank you, and you just cut the guy you were struggling to kill to absolute pieces. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense.
I can't see Deep Ret doing that. Like, I think Deep Ret would kind of... Like, how does Deep Ret work in those situations where it's like a mosh pit?
You just drop Consecrate and pick someone and just start whacking them.
I picture you try to find a target that other people are attacking and or is low health, and you go try to kill them. Right? Like,
that's usually... Well, usually I'll just, like, try to focus healers in the back.
Really?
Yeah. I just focus clothies. I don't really try to fuck with warriors. I leave that for the casters.
Even without Reckoning?
Yeah, I mean, I can get some cheeky burst.
You know, I can see that. No, it's fine. Now, I'm well aware you can kill them. I'm just also aware that if you have Reckoning, they die so fucking fast. Like, anything tries to help them. Anything tries to help them, and they die horrifyingly quickly. It's like the best thing to do is to leave that paladin alone who's attacking your clothy. It's like, don't fuck with that guy. Don't go over there. Don't cast a spell. Don't look at him. Don't give him any charges. And you know that's what the clothy is thinking the entire time, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a Fury Warrior jumps on me, and I'm like, oh, baby. And the clothy's like, no! So dumb. Okay. All right, so let's talk matchup specifics. That's the next thing you wanted to do. We're talking Ret Reckoning now, not Deep Ret matchup specifics. Deep Ret matchup specifics is it's kind of I'm pretty sure you're doing the exact same tactics no matter what, because there's only one fucking thing you can do. You're a one-trick pony. Well, let's be honest. Ret Reckoning is also kind of a one-trick pony. I suppose all the paladin classes are a one-trick pony in their own weird way, but you got to be much more tactical, I think, with the Reckoning builds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to be a lot smarter with your autos. Like, every auto matters.
Yeah, okay. So,
and also, another thing I actually want to point out, this is something I spoke with Medge about, and he agrees with me, because he doesn't really use seal twisting very much.
Oh.
But he plays Deep Ret, and he says he doesn't think seal twisting is as big for Deep Ret because you already have a bunch of CC. But as Ret Reckoning, in my opinion, you should be like twisting like rank 1 Seal of Command and Seal of Justice, like doing that like seal twist like a lot. Like you should abuse that as Ret Reckoning.
Can you get both procs? Is the question?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? You can?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Because I was testing it with Seal of Righteousness and it wasn't working, so I figured, well, it
it
made me
doesn't
question
work
what
with-
the fuck is this guy talking about?
It's because command is extremely delayed,
Oh, okay.
so you can get both procs.
Oh, so you can actually Seal Twist, Seal of Justice, and Seal of Command, and you can be legit. Okay, that's a little mana intensive, but I imagine if you know the proper time to do it, it's huge.
Yeah, I mostly I use rank 1 Sea Command. I would never use max rank. That's just stupid. Um, so that saves me a decent amount of mana. But yeah, you want to use it in smart situations. The main time I try to use it is to I'll try to use it to force a trinket out of the class.
Oh shit!
They'll
Yeah.
trinket justice because they're dumb and they didn't know Seal of Justice exists, and they trinket that, and then I hodge them, and they're like, "What the fuck? Where did the stun come from?" I just trinketed it. That whereas an interrupt, let's say I'm doing a disc priest or something, or a shaman that's healing. I actually do this a lot against shamans that are healing. If they're just standing there, oh, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, Ret Paladin has no interrupt, so I can just free cast in their face."
Nah.
That's when I'll start seal twisting because it'll just start interrupting their heals.
Yeah.
And it's oh shit.
Yeah. Continue.
The cool thing about Seal of Justice is that it's not a magic effect, so it can't be dispelled, which is awesome in
I did
Battlegrounds.
not know that. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's not. You can't dispel it. So when I'm in the back pressuring healers,
I think it's physical. I think you can bop out of it.
You can bop out of it. It has the same properties as we were talking about earlier with chilling. It has the same properties as Frostband.
Oh, that reminds me. You know you can bop out of. Obviously you know this. You can bop out of. I haven't used this much. Scatter shot. Talk to me about bopping out of fucking scatter shot.
I only use it if I have to, because the thing is that you can, if you bop the scatter shot, you can still get hit by the freezing trap.
Yeah, no, I know it's bad. I'm probably thinking about it from a Holy Reckoning perspective because I have the time and the durability to make that play, which you might not have.
If I'm fast enough and I have the trinket on, then I'll try to bop and then instantly frost reflect. If I know that there's a freezing trap under me, I'll try to bop, or I'll try to frost reflect before the freezing trap goes off.
What happens when you do that? I have no experience using frost reflector.
You just resist it. They were private servers back in the day where they would get frozen, but it was just really dumb and buggy. But on classic, you just
What happens if I frost reflector a frost nova from a mage?
Nothing happens.
Okay. What happens if I frost reflect a shaman frost shock? Which I don't know why I'd be doing that.
They get slowed. I actually do that a lot. I actually
fire reflector a nova totem.
It doesn't work because reflectors don't work on AoE.
Okay, so it has to be direct target. All right, understood.
Yeah. I actually use frost reflector sometimes against shamans to reflect the frost shock at them. I use it a lot against enhancement shamans actually, because enhancement shamans
they
will
love
always
to kite. Yeah.
Yeah, they love kiting.
They can't stand toe to toe with you. That's why they're kiting.
Yeah, and I actually when I fight enhancement shamans, a lot of the time I actually just run I run sword and board over two-hander. Just sometimes. If it's a duel, I actually really like so I would run the anti-melee build I have with a two-hander against an enhancement shaman, because I would just be parrying all their two-handed attacks and getting a bunch of parries.
Oh yeah, the parry stuff, yeah.
But if I wasn't running a tank, a mitigation, a tank parry build, an avoidance build like that, I would actually run sword and board against the shaman because
well, they're basically jousting you, and they got they're like a Ret Paladin. I mean, deep Ret Paladin. Yeah. That's literally what's happening.
They're like deep Ret with more damage and less control. But if you can mitigate, their spellcasting sucks, right? So their shocks aren't going to be hitting for very much. I mean, they can if they're spell hands, but generally
it's not enough to threaten you, is the way I'd put it. You can always heal after it. That's the major issue.
Yeah, and I've dueled enhancement shamans where they'll Wind Fury me, and I'll block some of the hits in the Wind Fury, but not all of them. Wearing a non-mitigation build against enhancement shamans. Actually, I'll just start talking. I'll start the matchup thing with talking about enhancement shamans. Okay. Well, I'm already on the subject, so we'll start with enhancement shamans. So enhancement shamans, I would run an anti-melee build that I run against warriors, except instead of sword and board, I would run a two-hander, because the extra armor from a shield isn't as necessary because they're not hitting nearly as hard as a warrior, generally speaking.
Well, it's more has to do with the fact that they don't have the rage mechanic. That's the number one reason you're using against a warrior.
Yeah, and they will go sometimes.
Yes.
If
they're trying to kite you and wear you down, they will right? So they have to eventually come and melee you, and that's when you fuck them up.
And if they like Wind Fury crit me, then I'm wearing plate, so it's not going to do too much to me. So I'll just turn around.
Well,
and
you're actually quite happy because your reckoning. If you're talking two-hander, your reckoning comes back and it's like, oh, okay, thank you.
And
Yeah.
exactly, and they wear mail, so they're going to get harder than they hit me.
Yeah.
So that's why if I'm wearing normal gear, so like if I'm world PvPing and I run into Enhancement Shaman, I'll go sword and board.
Oh, that makes
usually.
sense.
But if I'm dueling an Enhancement Shaman, I would wear tanking gear with a two-hander against Enhancement Shaman. That's what I would wear.
Okay, I guess enhancement. Yeah, I guess enhancement.
Drakova would probably disagree with me on the sword and board thing, but I've just found the most use out of like when I'm just in my normal standard gear, just running sword and board against.
Oh, right. That's one thing we didn't talk about. So, with all the classes in general. So, one big disadvantage to a lot of classes. Okay, like we talked about the advantages of classes, the disadvantages of classes. The one big aspect that we didn't really talk about is your kill time, right? One of the major reasons why certain classes like Holy Reckoning is an amazing 1v1 class, Deep Ret is an amazing 1v1 class. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't have good kill times. Like you're going to be taking like a minute 30 seconds to kill somebody in those classes. The big selling point of like a Ret Reckoning and to a lesser extent a Holy Reckoning sometimes is your kill time is so short that it becomes your strategy becomes much more applicable under a lot of different conditions, like battleground conditions, for example. So like dueling, you have all the time in the world, therefore all kinds of long strategies become applicable, whereas if you're in a battleground, your kill time is important. So I think that's the number one reason Drakova would argue for the two-hander over the sword and board. It's not that sword and board is bad against the enhancement shaman. It's that he's a big proponent for kill time. He loves having a good kill time.
Yeah, and I would do the same. I agree, having a high kill time. And if I have my cooldowns in a battleground, I mean, I would obviously do that. It's more of just like when like in world PvP, because usually that's when like an enhancement shaman jumps in world PvP. I won't be wearing like mitigation gear.
Yeah.
Same in a background.
In world PvP, it's all about you don't care if it takes you 10 minutes. You just don't want to die. Like that's the name of the game.
Exactly. That's my perspective on it. It's like in a battleground, I would use a two-hander because obviously you will kill them faster, but they have there's less mitigation on your end, so there's a higher chance of them killing you.
Do you think the sword and board has a higher kill chance? I mean, a higher win percentage?
I think it has a higher win percentage. I don't think it win,
but it's got a longer kill time. Like that's the
yeah, it does. Although honestly, if you're running like a slow one-hander, like Grand Marshal Longsword with Seal of Command,
you're gonna be clapping. Yeah, you're gonna be clapping.
Yeah, you can definitely like kill them pretty fast.
Yeah.
So it's kind of situational. And in world PvP, I would probably go sword and board. If I was wearing normal gear, I would wear sword and board. If I was in battleground, I would go two-hander. Two-hander, I would have a lower chance to beat them, but it would be faster.
Maybe Drakova's thinking about it from like a parry haste perspective because he's probably using the exact same gear to fight an enhancement shaman that he would be using to fight a warrior, two-handed style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I would do. I would fight I would gear the same against an enhancement shaman as I would a warrior.
Would you feel okay dealing with an enhancement shaman in a 1v1 with Avengers, like full Avengers?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you can take them. In my experience, you can take them out. But again, this is a Holy Reckoning perspective. You don't need bubble, right? In fact, your bop is kind of good. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
Bop's okay. If they're not purging, then
the problem is okay. So picture this. So say I catch them in a global, right? Because bop would only be used after they shock you. So they shocked you. Okay, and you're like, sweet, now you can't interrupt my heal. I'm going to bop myself and I'm going to start healing. Well, it's going to be about it's going to take you about 0.5 seconds to realize that they just shocked you and to make your play, and then it's going to be like, okay, so they purge it off of you. They had the 1 second of global that they're still stuck in. Then they purge it off you. Another 1.5 seconds is gone. You already got out your Holy Light. right? You know what I mean? It's like,
I would really only bop against an enhancement shaman if I was watching his swing timer and I knew
huh?
he was about to.
What
If I
what if
knew he
you
was about to
what
hit
if you
me,
did it preemptively and you're just like, okay, he's jousting me, let me just bop, like bop,
that's
take the
what I'm
hit,
saying.
cancel.
That's what I'm
Ah,
saying. 'Cause that's the only time I would bop against an enhancement shaman if his shock was up cooldown and I knew he was about to auto me, because I would just bop, uh, and then be immune to his auto, and then he'd probably purge it off immediately after. But I would, if I didn't have bubble up, but that would be the only time I would do that. But I would at least be able to negate that hit, that
that
auto.
joust. It's
And
like a storm strike and a auto attack. Yeah,
I like it wouldn't last for very long, obviously, because he'd probably immediately purge it off.
yeah.
But
A,
it would at
a
least
lot of times they don't immediately purge it off. They're like so shocked about what the fuck just happened. It's really hard to see. You know what I mean? There's a lot of spell effects going on in that clash.
um. Besides that, for enhancement shamans, I really like running. As far as trinkets go, okay, so the general game plan versus enhancement shaman is the same as a warrior. You should probably just cleanse, hit, like frost shock and stuff off of you. Destroy totems. Obviously, you want to get rid of grounding.
Oh, that's another reason why you'd probably want a one-hander over a two-hander. It's much easier to remove the totems.
It is very easy if you're running like a fast one hander, or even if you're running like a 2.9 speed one hander, it's still like really good.
Yeah.
The nice thing about being Ret Reckoning against shamans in general is that eye for an eye, or is that grounding totem will eat eye for an eye, so you can destroy the totem and still keep reckoning stacks. If
Oh shit! What the fuck?
yeah,
Is that new?
yeah,
That's not private.
no, I don't remember.
Yeah, I never heard this tactic before. Therefore, it must be new.
I don't think that was the thing on private servers. I don't remember, but
That sounds
yeah.
that
So
sounds bullshit. I like it.
it's pretty good, yeah. So you really the only time you ever have to really go out of your way to destroy the grounding totem is if you have to hodge them.
Yeah.
If you have to get off a hodge,
You might as well just judge. Like, judge away the totem and then hodge them. Like, why not?
Judgment of Command doesn't eat, or grounding
What the
totem doesn't
fuck?
eat judgment.
What
Yeah, it
the
doesn't eat
fuck?
Judgment of Command.
What? What?
It's because it's a melee hit, not a spell.
Judgment of
not spell hit.
command. Wow.
So-
Okay.
Judgment of Righteousness, though, if I have to judge, like if I can't get to the totem
Yeah.
in time, I will judge Righteousness
Ah.
to get rid of the totem. But generally, if I don't have stacks, I'll try to auto it, or I'll let eye for an eye eat it.
That's very rare, though. Honestly, let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
The Handsome Shaman's a very easy matchup, I think, for just about any paladin. I think
It's
the same
fairly
way for
easy.
Ret.
It's kind of like fighting a warrior.
They just don't have
But,
they just don't have the durability. They got the DPS to make it a match. They just don't have the durability to make a match.
Yeah, they don't really have the stamina to survive your burst.
Yeah, they are
Their burst
they
is
are
insane, but
dangerous.
they're squishier than you.
They are dangerous if they get some good RNG, though. I'll give them that. But then you just bubble, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still
So
gonna beat
enhancement
your dick off.
shaman it's fairly easy. It's like fighting a warrior, but there's a couple niche things to it. You can, if you can like net them and like run away and heal, like that they can't really do much about that. Your heals are probably gonna be more efficient than theirs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
It's a mana
trinkets.
issue. Like they can't keep up. It's like, look at it from their perspective, man. It's like they're playing Diablo 2 and you got fucking Thorn's Aura on. Any damage they're doing to you is getting reflected right back to them. Like anything,
Right.
practically. It's like, it's like they close with you and they auto attack you and they storm strike, and let's say both of those fucking Wind Fury, and then the Wind Fury's fucking crit, and they get like the RNG like Wet Dream, right? So they're hitting you like what is that, like 6 times instantly with 4 crits, and they're like, yeah. Except the paladin lived and he's got fucking Reckoning. So guess what happens?
Yeah, except I'm plate and they were male,
Yeah.
and so I do the exact thing I do the exact same thing they just
Yeah,
did, but
yeah,
harder, and I bubble it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Enhanced Shaman's not that hard of a matchup for Ret. It is kind of annoying because Purge is a bitch, but it's not the worst matchup. While I'm talking about shamans, I'll move on to talking about elemental shamans. Elemental shamans, in my opinion, are Ret paladins, or Ret Reckoning, just Ret in general. I would argue it is Ret's worst matchup. I think in elemental shamans and
Defense
Warlocks.
warriors. Not warlocks. Okay, warlocks.
I think warlocks. I think
Okay.
warlocks and
I
elemental
suppose
shamans.
the warrior problem is a gearing problem at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
warrior is an easy matchup with gear.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing proper gear to fight a warrior, though, warrior
Yeah.
is a very annoying matchup.
All right, so let's talk about elemental shamans. You think elemental shamans are a cancerous ass?
I think they are. Yeah, I think they're very, very annoying. It's a very fast-paced game. It's a very fast-paced matchup.
Oh yeah.
It's just both of you bursting each other super fast.
I also think it's like
defenses.
It's also one of those situations where it's like one fuck up or one misplay on either side, even like a second of delay on this or that, and it's over for you on both sides.
Yeah. There's a really good shaman on my server who's like one of the like better like duelers, an elemental shaman, and he and I duel a lot, and our duels are usually really close, and it usually just comes down to like one or two decisions that were made on who wins the duel.
Or RNGesus, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually RNGesus. The main reason I think elemental is really annoying, and it's maybe it's not Ret's worst, but it's one of my personal worst matchups, is because I feel like they have there's a lot more margin. There's a lot bigger margin for error with elemental than there is with Ret Reckoning. So
Ret Reckoning.
As Ret Reckoning, you have to play perfectly. As elemental, you can fuck up a couple times and still squeak by.
Yeah, as long as you know that you need to kite. As long as you understand that now is the time to go defensive, to do bend in offensive operations. That's the biggest weakness I've seen of a lot of elemental shamans is they don't know when they need to go purely defensive, right? So, like, let's say they burst into you and the burst doesn't go the right way. Like, something about the burst goes wrong. You know what I mean? Like, they throw out the grenade gets resisted. You need to abandon whatever the fuck you were doing and get distance. You need to frost shock. You need to start running like a bitch. You need to do whatever the fuck you need to do to stay away from this fucking paladin. You know what I mean? And they won't do that. They'll just continue on like, oh, whatever. He's still at range. I'll still be able to get the burst off into him. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get the burst into me, but now suddenly you don't have the damage. It's not there. So I'm going to close with you. You're going to take this eye for an eye, and you're going to take this wreck bomb into your fucking face. Or I just bubbled it, and now you're up shit creek without a paddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, so let's talk about the line of play. In my opinion, the line of play, as Holy Reckoning, I can dick around at range and play that game, especially with Obsidian Breastplate. And we probably should talk about the gearing against an Elemental Shaman first. Do you use an Obsidian Breastplate or not?
I probably would, yeah.
Do you go Fire Resist Aura? And would you use a Hand of Rag?
Yes to the Aura, no to the Hand of Rag.
Really? What preferred weapon?
Dark Edge of Insanity.
If Dark Edge of Insanity procs on your Wreck Bomb, under what conditions will you go for a heal over the clap?
I'll go for the clap if my judgment's on. Actually, okay. So if I'm sitting in a good place, HP wise, then I will keep DPSing. But the thing about having the proc lasts for 3 seconds, and the weapon is 3.5 speed, so I'm usually just getting a free auto when it procs.
Yes.
And if I'm sitting in a good place HP wise, then I probably would just go for another auto. But the thing is that
that's not going to happen typically.
If I'm wreck bombing a shaman, typically I'm not going to be in a good place mana wise against the shaman. So if Dark Edge, sorry, my bad. If I'm I'll probably be in a bad place hit point wise against the shaman. So if Dark Edge procs, I'll likely go for a Holy Light. Yeah, because that's a free heal that they can't Earth Shock. And they got to hold it.
Right. So what I'm thinking about from my mentality and my experience is, again, I have this idea of if you're physically on top of the shaman as a Ret Reckoning paladin and you're high life, the shaman has problems. Like he cannot stand under these conditions. He'll get cut to pieces. So my mentality is it's like if I put the Wreck Bomb into the shaman and I can see and the weapon procs and I can see that I can kill him, let's just fucking kill him. But if you can't kill him, I'm curious, like, do you not always go for the heal? Is it not always ideal to go for the heal?
More often than not, yes. It is it's generally better to go for the
Right,
heal there.
because then he might be at like 30% life, and then you're at like 40% life when he comes out of the proc, and
If he's in
that's a
like
problem.
if he's in like execute range and I can hammer a wrath, if I can do like either auto or get a hammer wrath off or something.
Sappers, that
Like
oh
yeah, like
Hammer of Wrath is on the table now with the proc. Yeah, huh.
so. Yeah, I get a free hammer wrath. Maybe I hammer wrath and sapper to try and kill him. Maybe like hammer wrath, judgment, sapper during the stun, something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so if he's within kill range, you pull the trigger on kill. If he's not within kill range, you go for the hit points. I imagine
Generally
that.
speaking, yeah.
I imagine that a lot of times though, you're sitting at like sub 10% health, and then you're like, "Fuck," you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
you don't have a lot of opportunities to heal in that matchup because A, Earth Shock is a bitch. B, a lot of smart shamans will run fast weapons in their main hand with Flame Tongue weapon, and they'll run up and start, if they see you healing and their Earth Shock's on cooldown, they'll run up and start meleeing you because it will give you a ton of pushback.
yeah, it does the double pushback thing like SOR.
Okay. Yeah, and it's very annoying to heal through. And usually, if you
and they'll get their Earth Shock up by that time. Yeah, I can see that being gay.
So it's really, really difficult to heal against an enhancement shaman. So like that's why Dark Edge is such a good weapon.
I think that the trinkets make the matchup. It's all about the trinkets. That's my personal.
I agree. You need to run like Burrow Shell. Burrow Shell is essential against shaman or AGM, whichever you have.
What's your other trinket though, besides a hit point
it
trigger?
Depends.
No Goblin Mortar? Like you don't close the range with a Goblin Mortar? You'd prefer a Burrow Shell?
So I talked about this matchup a lot back in the day with Drakova because I still complain about this matchup. I think it's a bullshit matchup. But
dude,
he and I basically came to the conclusion that you run Burrow Shell and then you run a pet of some sort.
Agreed.
Because here's the thing, pets are going to give them huge amounts of pushback on both their heals and their damage.
I completely agree.
So you run like Barov or like Arcanite Dragonling,
and it negates a one of the bounces of the Chain Lightning, which is like 1,000 hit points practically that you end up having. More like 8. Maybe that's about 1,000. It's the second bounce. So for those who don't know, I recently got like a skeletal summon book. You can actually summon the skeleton against the enhancement shaman. The fucking skeleton will have like 3,500 hit points, maybe even like 4,000 hit points. And he does like 100 DPS. He's kind of a little insane little bastard. But two things on the subject: you can summon the skeleton and then switch to any other gear you want possible. So you could literally start the matchup, do a skeleton summon, and then go into your two-hander and then run at the shaman. The other weird thing that I need to test that I haven't tested very much is I've noticed that if I like summon the skeleton under certain circumstances. Like I haven't taken damage anytime soon or some shit like that, or I'm not targeting the shaman specifically, the pet will get summoned, I need to test it, and he'll just stand right next to me. Right? He won't actually go run off and try to attack the shaman. This is actually ideal, as far as I'm concerned. Because this is a Holy Reckoning perspective, though. From a Ret Reckoning perspective, you're probably way happier if he goes and he runs off and he starts attacking the shaman and causing all the kinds of pushback issues that you talked about. But from my perspective, I just want the hit points, right? So I'm much more happy running into a shaman with the skeleton pet chillaxing besides me for the burst. You know what I mean? But this is a pure Holy Reckoning perspective. But in theory, I could macro it that I could summon the skeleton, switch to a two-handed weapon, and the skeleton is standing right next to me for the burst. On private servers, the line of play that fucks me with the skeleton is I summon the skeleton, I start running at the shaman, I get grenaded, but the skeleton continues onwards, right? And from a shaman's perspective, this is non-ideal because he suffers pushback and he hates his life. But from my perspective, I'm sucking the entirety of that burst to the face. You know what I mean? Technically, both of us are unhappy under these conditions. So ideally, I want the skeleton to both to suck the burst and then go over there and cause pushback problems. What is it like from a Ret Reckoning perspective?
From a Ret Reckoning perspective, you just want to be as much of a nuisance to them as possible and fuck with their spellcasting.
So is it that, or do you just want to be on top of them with as much hit points as possible?
You want to be on top. Yeah, you want to be on their ass the entire time.
Okay, so yeah,
And you want to be seal. You want to be seal twisting as much as possible with rank 1 command and justice to interrupt the cast. You want.
yeah.
I think the best pet trinket to use would probably be a battle chicken. Because of
Really?
its attack speed.
What's its hit points?
It's not a lot, but the main reason is just the attack speed.
Yeah, I know it does metric fuck tons of damage, that little piece of shit, but I think his hit points are low. That's why I'm not a big fan.
It depends on if they have a Nova Totem up, because the Nova Totem might be able to kill it.
Yeah.
The chicken does have a decent amount of hit points. It's not the worst.
Okay, so let's go through the line of play step by step. So in my brain, when I'm running at an elemental shaman, right, as a Holy Reckoning paladin, I imagine that our lines of play are almost identical when we're trying to close the distance. The scary burst from the elemental shaman is I catch a grenade. No. First comes down. I think it's lightning bolt is coming into me. Bam! I get hit by a lightning bolt. When that lightning bolt hits me, he's throwing down like a Nova Totem, and on top of the Nova Totem, as I continue to close the distance, I'm going to get grenaded, and I'm going to have to suffer this lightning bolt hit, this Nova Totem, this grenade damage, and then comes out the 4,000 or like 3,500 elemental damage burst, right? Like that's right. The Doom combo. And a lot of them, they're either an Orc, which has stun issues, but the more scary one and the more consistent one, in my opinion, is the Telreyne. The Telreyne has the War Stomp to play with on top of that. So even if I can, like, heal, let's say I just bubble all that shit. I'm like, okay, fuck all this shit, I'm just going to bubble it. I eat the grenade, I bubble the grenade, I tell the guy to go fuck themselves. He's got War Stomp to play with and do the exact same fucking combo to me, right? Now, to be honest, I think that this is why Burrower Shell and Obsidian Breastplate are kind of your boy, because without them, you can't really survive this combo. It's like, yeah, you can kind of lean on your Whipper-Root a little bit, like the Lightning Bolt comes in, you get hit with the Lightning Bolt, you Whipper-Root that damage away, and then between the grenade damage and the Nova damage and the Chain Lightning Earthshock Burst combo, they typically barely cannot kill you. If you're sitting at the proper hit point levels, which is about, it's just like 5,100 or so hit points, ideally. Right. This is also why the frost, the fire resistance is kind of a big deal, and it's kind of wonder why I was asking about Hand of Rag, because it's Holy Reckoning. I would in tier 2, which I already have like a lot of fire resist on the tier 2. I would lean heavily on the fire resist. I'd have like 145 fire resist in like pure tier 2. Right, like no additional stuff, just tier 2 plus a cloak with fire resist on it, and then Hand of Rag, and they're not getting through that. So the other question, okay, so where was I going with this? Other things that work really well are the 100 to all resistance trinket. So you got like your fire resist, you pop the 100 to all resistances trinket, and next thing you know, that burst that should fucking annihilate you, you're probably gonna wade through it with like 40% life. Right. Again, Obsidian Breastplate is God mode. Let me think. If your gearing is proper and your play is proper against... It's more of a gearing issue to close the distance. It's not really a play issue to close the distance. It's a gearing issue to close the distance. If the Shaman is going to kill you, he's going to kill you in his second burst, not in his first burst. Do you agree with me on that? Like, it's never the first burst that kills you.
It's very rarely the first burst that kills you.
Right, and and then it becomes this interesting dance of you're physically on top of them with your life totals, they're physically on top of you with whatever the fuck their life totals are, and then you guys just kind of have to figure out the situation from there. The situation is the Shaman wants to get distance from you immediately, and because they cannot cast with you physically on top of them. Like they can kind of do it, kind of, sort of, but it's going to be a fucking political nightmare basically for them. And they want to get distance. They want to buy their time. Maybe they have to heal up a little bit. But if you let them break contact with you that second time, that second burst will probably end you, unless you still have bubble to play with. And if you still have bubble to play with, then it's to your advantage. That's my general assessment. It's like if you close the distance at first and you were able to hold on to your bubble and then you were able to force the Shaman to break away from you, like probably while you're healing yourself back up, that second clash If you still have bubble to play with, the shaman's probably going to lose. I don't know. What do you think? This is a Holy Reckoning perspective is a different animal because it's like I have the durability to just go over there and beat their dick off. I do a skeleton summon pet. I run at them. They're fucked. Like that is my experience with them. Because they're not going to have the hit points. They're not going to have the durability. They're not going to have the fucking mana. That they're just going to get... and I'm causing so many pushback issues when I'm physically on top of them that I'm basically their worst nightmare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fast one-hander with the ×2 from SOR, they have to physically get off me. If I have enough hit points that they can't... They can't... If they cannot force me to stop and heal with their next shock spell, they're fucked. Like, that's my mentality.
So for Ret Reckoning, if I'm on top of them, they're just gonna die because I'll just be able to just kill them. Like I'll do like Seal Command will just proc and.
I think it's a combination of eye for an eye and
like
Wreck Bomb.
Like shamans have so much spell crit, they're critting me constantly, so eye for eye is killing them. And this is why Ret Reckoning is so good in late phases because casters become broken. So because of that, Ret Reckoning becomes so much stronger because casters don't wear plate.
So many reflect damage. Yeah,
they don't wear plate, and when they crit me, not only do they take eye for an eye as damage, it gives me Reck stacks. So at least shaman,
your clap, your one-hit clap becomes more terrifying because of how they're geared.
Yeah. And when I'm on top of the shaman, because I'm autoing him for a lot, because Seal Command's hitting him for a lot, I'm seal twisting, so I'm interrupting him all the time. He's proccing eye for an eye a lot. It's when I'm on him, he is at risk of dying. Not like he is like, oh my gosh, I have to get this paladin off me, or else I'm going to die in the next couple globals or the next couple autos.
Right, but the situation is literally just so I'm imagining there's overlap here. It's not a if I'm on top of them scenario. It's if I'm on top of them with enough hit points that their next Earth Shock isn't just going to end me. You know what I mean?
If you're not in range of dying to an Earth Shock, then they're in a world of hurt. Yeah. And I want to talk about this because I was talking about this earlier about bubble and like using bubble on their terms versus your terms.
Mm-hmm.
This is why something like Burrow Shell is so important against like stacking stamina and using Burrow Shell is so important versus shamans. The resistances are good, but I honestly think if you can stack as much stamina as you can, it's better to do that than to run resistance.
No, I completely agree, and I think that's more of a. I think the resistance thing is a Ret Reckoning thing. I mean, my bad, a Holy Reckoning thing, because as Drakova keeps telling me, is you actually want the shaman to hurt you and crit you, like you want him to fucking crit you. You don't want to be. You don't want that. Like as Holy Reckoning, I just want to get on top of them with as much hit points as possible. As Ret Reckoning, you want to hurt them, so you want to get hurt so you can hurt them more.
Exactly. Them hurting you ends up hurting them because you just want to have enough stamina to be able to have the time to hurt them back, right?
Yeah, so, and your biggest fear is them breaking contact and getting to that second burst.
Yes. And you want to stay on top of the shaman the whole time because if he stops the heal, he'll probably be after he heals himself, but you're kind of in a rough situation, and this is why I was saying earlier, you kind of want to save your bubble to bubble on your terms as opposed to theirs. And what this means is
you're using the bubble offensively, right? It's not a defensive bubble, it's a purely offensive bubble.
It can be. The way you in a perfect world, you want to bubble after Elemental Mastery has been burnt and that whole exchange of burst has been spent.
Yes.
Because right now, if you don't have like a shit ton of stamina, you don't have Burrow Shell, like...
Okay, I have an idea.
You have to, like, let me finish. Okay. So if you don't have a lot of stamina and Burrow Shell, then you have to bubble his burst. Basically, you either have to bubble right after or you have to bubble right before, depending.
And I want to talk about why that's bad. Why is that bad?
Because you want to save your bubble to win you the clutch.
Yes.
Because after you both, after you both burst each other down, you're kind of in an awkward situation where you both need to heal each other, and you're both kind of like looking at each other, healing each other, kind of like.
If you got bubble, he's fucked.
And if you have bubble for that, you win. Like 9 out of 10 times, you're going to win that exchange if you can save your bubble.
Yeah.
The problem with Elemental Shaman before you get access to all the stam and the Burrows trinket, stuff like that, is that you just
they're forcing
you have to burn, you have to bubble, or else you will just die.
Yeah.
So the matchup gets better. But generally against a shaman, I would say my general rule of thumb as Ret Reckoning is to stack stamina, run a mitigation trinket, whether it be the Burrow trinket or AGM, both are fine. You want to pop it right before they pop their burst because it can be purged. So you want to do it like as they're casting.
Oh yeah.
Or like if you anticipate the stun.
You got like 0.2 seconds after, like you come out of the grenade stun right before the burst hits you. So there's a moment there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and another thing too is that if you see if it's like this is actually especially good against a Tauren, right? Because if you know they're about to Earthshock, and like you see them casting Earthshock, it's a fast cast, so you gotta react fast. You pop Burrow's shell. They have to either waste their they have to either waste the War Stomp to purge the mitigation trinket off of you.
Okay, I see.
Or they have to follow through with the damage.
Yes.
So either way, you're fucking with their burst.
Yeah. No. I'm okay. Yeah. I guess from my perspective, I'm painfully aware that you can use the burst trinket. I mean the bubble trinket. It's just you need to explain specifically where to use it. It's painfully obvious to me because you see these fuckers like their hands light up and shit because they're doing elemental overlord or whatever the hell it's called. And you're coming out of a stun, or they're just like letting you run at them, like they haven't stunned you. I've seen this one before, or the stun gets resisted. So like they're literally gonna burst on you, and then you just pop it. And it's like, what do? Do they cancel the burst and then purge you? Like you get the timing down so clutch that it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I mean, if they stop the purge it, then you can just dodge and then damage.
Then you close on them. Now you're on them. Good luck casting now. Fuck you. Because it's going to go 1.5 seconds, and they can barely get off that 1.5 seconds chain lightning while you're running at them.
That's when you start seal twisting to interrupt their cast, so you pop your pet trinket and all that stuff.
Yeah. So you like pet trinket over skeleton? Would you ideally just use a skeleton and run at them?
I mean, ideally you'd want to use both.
Oh fuck!
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. One for the first burst, and one for the second burst. Okay.
I mean, I would just use as many pets as I can just to interrupt them and just fuck with them. Like I would run Gnomish Battle Chicken.
Dude, that is so.
I would pop Skelly.
That is so weird. It's like the completely different mentality. It's like so from a Holy Reckoning perspective. From a Holy Reckoning perspective, I like the pushback the pets bring, but it's more important for me to have hit points. From your perspective, it's less important to have the hit points, but it's more important for the pushback.
The reason I care more about the pushback is because my heals aren't very good. So I just want to kill them. I can kill if I'm using the...
What specifically are you threatening with the pushback? Is it the lightning bolt or is it the heal?
Both.
Okay.
So if they still have them up and I'm able to...
So let's say you've closed the distance. Okay, let's say you've closed the distance. You've exchanged Wreck Bomb for their burst, all right? I'm picturing the shamans like at 30% life and you're like at 10% life, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What are the pets doing for you? Like, what is your play? You got some pets on him. What's the play? Like Burlov's you popped and he's like, fuck.
If I'm low and they're low?
Like you're 10%, they're 30%. Do you just... You're looking at the next Earthshock potentially killing you. I'm thinking you just pulled the trigger on the offense and you used the bubble offensively. That's what my gut tells me.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do there is I would bubble, try to get off another auto, and if Hodge is up, obviously try to Hodge there and go for something.
Yeah, so if they're like 30% life, you got the Burlovs on them, because they can't heal. They can't. They literally have to wait until their next Earthshock, right? Like that's what you put them in. Huh, interesting.
Right.
So they literally, you got 5 seconds to beat on them. Only then can they Earthshock you, and that's when you're like, okay, let me try a seal twist. Okay, did I get the seal twist? Did I not get the seal twist? Let me try to hodge you. Do you have your trinket? Do you not have your trinket? Let me bubble for safety. Let me do this. Let me do that. Okay. What's the typical result of the clash? Like, I know you're looking at at your hit points and the shaman's hit points after the clash.
After he burst me and I burst him.
Yes. Is that always the opener, or is there something more intelligent that they do? Do they actually use their burst on the first clash, or?
No, they very smart. Good shamans have a chance of beating you. Like good shamans will like purge you, kite you for a little bit with frost shock, let their totems whittle you down a little, and then once they get you to a percent that they are comfortable blowing you up, then that's when they'll go for their combo.
Oh, and
a lot of comment.
That's when, okay. That's
a lot of
the summons and the burrowers. Okay.
A lot of bad shamans will just like blow their load off the bat, and against someone that's properly geared for PvP, it usually won't kill them from 100% HP to 0%.
Yeah.
So that's why they'll try to get you to maybe like 90 or 80% so that they can guarantee the kill.
Okay.
So a lot of good shamans will just like purge you, kite you a little bit, let their totem stuck with you, maybe auto you a couple times, throw a couple lightning bolts, and then once they're comfortable bursting you, then they'll just nade.
Now, are you running full speed at them like an idiot, or are you like, okay, I took an earth shock, let me cleanse it and back away a little bit, get a heal in?
Oh, I'm running at them.
Okay.
Running. I'm trying to destroy grounding totem without losing stacks, and I'm just trying to get a Hodge out, do some damage.
Interesting.
Be ready for their burst.
Talk to me about closing the distance under these conditions. Do you grenade at all?
Yeah, I grenade.
Okay, so you'll grenade on the closer, not like hold it for sapper charge after the clash.
It depends. It depends. If I'm already on top of them, or if I'm close enough where I can catch them, because they have to stop to cast. Like if they want to cast like a heal, or they want to cast lightning bolt, or if they want to start their burst, they have to stop the cast. So I can catch up to them
themselves. Yeah. Okay.
So it depends. If I'm really far away, I will nade to try and close the gap, because a nade crit will proc vengeance. So that going in, if I have vengeance going in, that's obviously nice. But if I don't spend the nade to do that, then yeah, sometimes I'll save it for like a sapper. Like if I have him in a Hodge in a clutch situation, I'll like auto, judge, sapper. That's like my clutch. That's like my, if I try to squeeze the damage out of my ass the last second, I'll like Hodge, auto, judge, sapper. That's like my go-to. I'll be like, I probably could use the nade for control, but I just really need the damage here, so I'll pop sapper.
What do you find to be the best tactic? Like, what's the best line of play you know of? Yeah.
Best line of play against a shaman, in my opinion, as Ret Reckoning, is I run at them, they cleanse all my shit, I destroy their totems, I just try to auto them. I use rank 1 seals because they're going to be spam purging my shit, and if I'm using rank 1 seals and they're just doing nothing but purging it constantly, they're going to themselves, so eventually they'll stop. You just want to get on top of them, start autoing, be ready for the burst.
How do you get on top of them? You eventually just will?
You'll catch up to them, because they have to, like I said, they have to stop to cast. If you're running Pursuit of Justice, or if you're running whatever, you'll catch them eventually, unless they're a long way away. And if they're a long way away, if they're like max distance, then I'll just nade, because they can't grounding totem the nade, so I'll just nade.
You don't run away in the opposite direction for a second, get a holy light off, and then run at them again?
If they're whittling me down a lot, then yeah, I will. Usually from that distance, they won't be able to do that much damage to me, because I have a lot.
That makes sense, because their frost shock is only 20 yards, so they need to be within this 20-yard pocket.
Their shocks are shorter than their lightning bolts, so I can still be in lightning bolt range and just keep healing. But generally speaking, yeah, I'll just hold W and just run at them. And when I get on top of them, I'll just destroy totems, do what I can, get the damage out that I can. I'll pop my pet as soon as I get on top of them. I'll pop my pet trinket, just to like slow their cast.
Do you pop the pet? Okay, so the biggest fear with me with the pet trinket is don't pet trinket, like if they still have a grenade or they still have their Nova totem or they still, I don't mind the chain lightning. The problem is I'll pop like Burlovs and then the grenade will just kill them all, or I'll pop Burlovs and then the Nova will kill them all. And so I've always found it difficult, like where do I pop the Burlovs? Like I have to take the burst is kind of my theory anyways.
It depends. I mean, if you think you can, it's really hard to explain because it's very situational. You can pop the pet trinket before to slow their burst. Usually, they're gonna get their burst off. I would say pop the pet trinket if you know like Fire Nova's on cooldown, or maybe if they're like a Tarn or something. Generally, though, I mean that is an option, but I usually will pop pets when they try to heal. That's usually when I'll try it.
Gotcha.
That's usually when I'll pop the pets because I want the pushback. Because they can, if I'm just standing there auto attacking them, I can do a lot of damage. But generally speaking, if they're a properly geared shaman, they can heal through that.
It'll cost them like 40% of their mana bar, but they can heal through it.
Yeah, so I want to be able to fuck with them there as much as possible.
With pets, I think they're going to either and be okay, or meaning they're going to die shortly after, or they're going to just get cut to pieces. Like one of those two scenarios.
Yeah.
Happen.
So I've talked a lot about Elite Shaman, so I'll wrap it up here by just like giving the general overall game plan and like how you match up. I'll give just an example scenario. You run stem, you run stem, mitigation trinket, and a pet. If you have Skelly Book, you pop it going into the fight, swap to a 2-ender, you run at them, you destroy totems, you try to do as much damage as you can before they burst. If you see that they're about to burst, you pop the mitigation trinket, eat the damage, then you kind of have them on the ropes. Once you see them start healing, if you have ranking gear, Hodge early. If you don't, save your Hodge. Like Hodge before they burst if you have ranking gear, because by the time you're in a position where you're going to want to Hodge again, it should be off cooldown. So you'll Hodge early, like before their burst, do some damage. After your Hodge is over, that's when they'll probably try to go for your burst, or for their burst. You'll pop your mitigation trinket, eat it. You'll have them on the defensive because they've done their damage to you, and you hit them with Eye for an Eye, and you're about to hit them with Reck stacks. You do that, you hit them with that. By then maybe your Hodge is up. Your Hodge is coming up soon. Once they start healing, you're gonna Hodge, do more damage, and then that's when you want to bubble. If you're still low at this point and you're worried you're gonna die, you're gonna want to bubble there. And when they start healing too, after the Hodge or before the Hodge, depends on if it's on cooldown or not, you would want to pet trinket again, and then maybe you want to bubble offensively to finish them, or you want to bubble defensively to heal. And if you do that and you can get the heal off, if everything's kind of gone the way I have described, by the time you bubble defensively in full heal, they're in a shitty situation. You're probably both and if you're both you're gonna win.
Yeah, I agree with
that. That is like an example of like a standard Ret Reckoning versus Ellie Shaman duel, and like how it would play out and how you should play it. So that's kind of like that's just like an example.
What's the win rate? Sounds about 50-50.
It's about 50-50. Yeah, it's a fucking matchup. It's just it's not the hardest. It's just very annoying because you have to play perfectly. If you play perfectly, it's fine. Yeah. But it's just very annoying having to play perfectly.
I think the most annoying thing about it is at any point in time, RNGesus can shut your plans down. Like if those shocks crit like one too many times, it's like fuck. If that lightning bolt coming in crits you, it's like fuck. But it's the same thing from the shaman's perspective. The shaman's like having to jump a lot of hoops with their resistances, right? So from their perspective, It's like, oh shit, my nade resisted. Oh fuck. My lightning bolt didn't crit. Oh fuck. Oh, my earth shock didn't crit. Oh fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's all I really got to say about Ellie Shaman.
Talk to me about why Elemental Shaman is the more cancerous matchup than Mage. Because that's what I find fascinating for one of the major reasons why you play Ret Reckoning is because you have a better matchup versus mages.
Ret Reckoning is awful versus mages early on, but later it gets way better because mages crit a lot, and they're very, 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 very squishy.
Gotcha.
Mages, you want to stack stand, frost resistance. Obviously you want or frost resistance, or obviously you want the imp freedom and bop, so you can have as much uptime on freedom. You're probably going to be running freedom the entire time. Pretty much the only time you're going to want to run something other than freedom is if you're about to get sheeped and you know you can't stop it. You want to throw wisdom back on yourself for more regen while you're sheeped.
What trinket? Is it like PvP trinket, bubble to get off a sheep, or do you like that?
I run I trinket swap a lot against mages because they reset so much.
Yeah.
So I'll run PvP trinket and frost reflector.
Oh, quick question: Are you a complete asshole and wear like a resist suit with your two-hander, then get the full reckoning bomb, and then when you come off a sheep from a heartbeat duration, you switch your gear over to offensive gear? Are you that guy?
No, I don't really do that. No.
Okay. Because Drakova's that guy.
Well, I will swap gear. I think I know what you're saying. I will swap gear to like a. Like, are you saying like when I'm about to be sheeped, or?
No, what I'm saying is you can start the duel off in a heavy resist suit with your with your Dark Age of Insanity. They won't be able to kill you, so eventually they're going to have to sheep you and start drinking. Well, if they sheep you, you heal to full, and then the moment you come out of sheep, because there's a possibility that heartbeat duration will just get you out of sheep.
Right.
That you just switch over to your DPS gear, and then that might be a holy reckoning thing to do.
Oh yeah, I don't usually do that with full gear, but I will do that with like.
What I'm kind of asking, I suppose, is how do you make sure that you get the Reck bomb without dying?
So if you wear rocket boots, goblin rocket boots against a mage, that matchup is actually a joke.
Oh seriously? Oh, talk to me about that, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, if you pop Goblin Rocket Boots as a Ret Reckoning paladin against mages in this current phase, that matchup is extremely easy.
Seriously?
Because because they'll just, if you're on top of them, they're just gonna panic and spam Arcane Explosion, and they're gonna be critting you a lot with that, and it doesn't hit very hard, and then mages have a lot of spell crit right now, so they're gonna be killing themselves with the eye for an eye. You're gonna be in a lot of procs.
Oh shit! I think you're right. You're gonna. Because even I'm thinking,
you're going to be on top of the entire time.
Yeah, I'm like, what if they're smart and they just stop and cast sheep? And then my brain is like, well, if you have PvP fucking trinket and bubble, you're just gonna walk, you're gonna get the sheeps off you, and you're just gonna keep cutting them to fucking pieces.
They're gonna they'll sheep you. You'll instantly trinket and just keep hitting them because rocket boots last for a long time. And then if they try to frostbolt you or whatever, if you reflect a frostbite at them while you have rocket boots up, it's over. Like they're trying to get away. They'll blink. You'll just instantly catch up to them. You'll hodge. You'll force block out of them. Like that matchup goes from like being like a very difficult matchup without rocket boots to being an extremely like that matchup is very, very easy with rocket boots. I'll just say that.
Fuck? Okay, so what if they just use their ice block or ice blocks to I imagine a fire mage it's infinitely easier. Like a fire mage is just
my fire mage isn't. I only consider frost mages an actual matchup.
Yeah, I was gonna say
fire mage is kind of a meme. I'll just fire reflector whatever they have at me, and then they'll just crit me a bunch, and then they'll just die.
Well, I think the biggest issue the fire mage has is a thick obsidian breastplate's just doing too much work against them. Like each individual hit they're dealing to you isn't doing enough damage. Like the frost bolts can come in and hit you for like 2,500.
With fire they're hitting you with a lot more non-periodic effects, and because frost bolts
they're like 500
good,
damage,
but they take a while.
And they're like 600 hits. You know what I mean?
It's like a bunch of small hits, which is actually perfect for thick obsidian, and this is actually why
perfect for reckoning. So it's like
yeah, exactly, and it's even better with if they're just spamming Arcane Explosion, because that doesn't hit for that much, but they're hitting you a bunch, so it can proc thick obsidian. Just if you can, that's why I say after playing mage playing against mages as Ret Reckoning and World PvP with no movement speed, moving things is actually that's the hardest match.
Okay,
that is an extremely hard matchup. You need grenades, you need to hit your reflectors, and you need to be lucky. And you need Skull of Impending Doom. But if you have like rocket boots or swiftness pots, like that matchup is easy. That matchup is
Rocket
extremely
Boost,
easy.
Swiftness Pots. Talk to me about potentially using either. What are the trinkets? Like, do you want a Jom Gobbers? Do you want a nifty stopwatch? Like, what's I'm thinking
Nifty
nifty.
stopwatch is good.
Yeah.
Nifty is really good. Honestly, you could, if you're banking on the whole movement speed thing, then I would run PvP trinket with Nifty.
Oh yeah, that would work. Yeah, you're right.
Because
Okay.
you wouldn't have to run the reflector as much. The reflector's just like putting a hat on the hat at that point if you're running movement speed.
Yeah, because they might use Ice Block to try to time out your boots, but then Nifty's just going to catch them on the back end, and you're going to
if you have Nifty, Swiftness Pot, and boots, and a PvP trinket and a bubble, like that matchup is extremely easy as Ret Reckoning in current phase because mages are critting you a lot. So
I imagine, and it probably only gets easier in Nax. I think in Nax you start doing so much damage and you start having so much hit points from like a Might of Minithil that
you do
vaporize.
Mages were Ret Reckoning's worst matchup in early phases, and now they're one of my favorite. If I'm prepared, if I'm not prepared, then that matchup is very toxic.
No, you're just gonna die. Yeah.
If I'm fighting a mage and
you call it toxic, but you mean you're dead.
yeah. You usually die if if the mage is equal skill to you or better, then you will always die. If the mage has to be really bad to lose that. Usually I'll just try to run away.
Oh yeah.
Totally. If I'm in 1 PvP, I'm like, nah, I'm not dealing with this today. I'm just gonna run away.
Find the nearest piece of LOS, if at all possible.
And then, just get out of dodge.
Which I find funny because a lot of times they blink after you, and that's the moment where you're like, "Can I take him?"
If they blink after me, then I'll turn around and fight them.
Oh yeah,
because I'm like, this guy's an idiot.
It's like an instant ice block. It's like, what are you doing, ice block? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that is a red flag. I think the only other thing I was gonna say about mage, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, about swapping. I usually will only this. I don't like doing this with Ret Reckoning.
Swap to more rocket boots. Like you go from rocket boots to gnomish boots. That's why I think your primary swap option would be.
That's the main, gear swapping option. Yeah, I don't really like doing this because I have potential to lose stacks, so it's a little risky. But swapping to MP5/Spirit weapon.
What do you mean you might lose stacks? Weapon. Okay.
Because when you swap weapons, obviously you lose stacks. So I have the worm scale blocker, the shield from Oro and AQ. It has good MP5 and shit on shit like that. It's like
a better Mount of Stars.
Yeah, it's like a better Mount of Stars. Yeah, I'll have a macro to swap between that and the Grand Marshal healing weapon. Those two, and then Dark Edge of Insanity. So if I'm about to be sheep and I need to regen, I will throw up Wisdom and swap to those, and then regen in the sheep. Yeah, because they have a lot of MP5 on it. Yeah. If I get crit while I'm in the sheep, obviously I'm going to lose that stack, so it kind of sucks. But I'll instantly swap back to my 2-ender.
So, question: if you have skeleton pet available, is there any play around that? Because Holy Reckoning, skeleton pet's a big deal.
I would use it against the mage, yeah, for sure. Okay. I would pre-pop if I have Skelly Book. I actually don't have it. I need to get it. But if I have Skelly Book, I would pretty much pre-pop it against almost every matchup.
No, I can see that.
It's just so good.
I can see that.
I actually love it when people pop. And this is kind of off topic, but for anybody that watches this, if you ever pop pets against Ret Reckoning Paladin, you are very, very not intelligent.
I love seeing Burlov's trinket. I'm like, what are you doing?
I know. I beat a Shakadan in a dueling tournament because he popped Burlov's trinket against me, and I just got a full Reck stack
and
off
just cut him
all
to
of them,
pieces,
and then just two-shot him.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Same thing.
I swear to God, they do it because they're thinking, I'm going to stop him from healing. Like, I'll be Holy Reckoning, and I'll be like, all right, fine, I'm going to heal myself. And they pop Burlovs against me, and I'm like, this isn't going to do shit, bro.
I love that shit. The most fun, my favorite thing is when they pop Skeleton Book against me, and I build a full stack.
Oh, yeah. Please, give it to me.
Build a full Reckoning stack off of the Skeleton, and then I turn undead.
What? Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I just turn undead so that he can't hit. I get what I need out of him, and then I send him away.
Let me guess. You do the sit crit thing, right? You're like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
good
yeah.
sir. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
oh
you.
yeah. Drakova is an art that I have mastered. I learned from Drakova. I have mastered the timing on almost every
It's
attack speed in the
Yeah,
game.
2 seconds. The same as any boar in the game. Find a boar, practice against a boar.
I've practiced against
Jesus.
almost like every type of mob in the game, and I've just
Yeah.
mastered it. I even use it against other players sometimes.
What's going through your head when you're doing it? And through my head, I'm like, oh, give it to me. You know what I mean?
I'm just laughing and thinking of the blue post where Blizzard said they were going to remove it.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's Mage. TLDR against Mage is
rocket boots apparently.
run movement speed makes it a joke.
Need your PvP
Otherwise,
trinket. Need your bubble.
You die.
Otherwise,
Bubble PvP trinket, movement speed, you're good. Otherwise, you basically need full cooldowns to fight a mage. But if you have full cooldowns, then you're usually good.
What's your other trinket ideally?
I kind of Frost Reflector
or Nifty Stopwatch. I can see Foster. Yeah. Because okay, so
Reflector, Nifty. I like scrolls as well for healing. Also just more attack speed. I don't know. I like scrolls. Also, a fun thing I like to do with scrolls sometimes, if a mage is trying to reset and run away against me, is I'll pop scrolls with summon charger and have a fast mount speed.
Oh, you fucking dickhead!
It's like a 2-second cast. Like it's
it's
like it's
what I find
it's just
hilarious
like saving a second one.
Oh, have you figured out what keeps you in combat when you're bubble and what's not? Because I know one thing does and another thing doesn't. I think it's the complete opposite of private servers. I think it's ranged attacks keep you in combat, but melee doesn't anymore.
Yeah, melee definitely doesn't. Oh, actually, no. I think it's the other way around. I think melee does, but range don't.
That's how it was on private, I've seen some weird shit, bro.
I don't know, because
I don't know
now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's just buggy, because I think I've had times where I'm in melee, like people are hitting me, and I get
like a hunter's pet is on me,
just very
and I'm like able to mount, and I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
It is kind of cheeky when someone's trying to kite me. I do this against hunters too. If I'm running scrolls, I have scrolls plus summon charger macro, because it's like it's only an extra second, but yeah, it's only just an extra second of cast time, but it's still good.
That extra second is the world. Because usually
it can mean the world.
No, not even mean the world. Like, I don't know if you've tried it without scrolls to get on a mount, but it's always in that last second that you fail. You know what I mean? Because if you were even thinking that you could go for a mount, like you're not. There's not like a hunter pet is on you and you're thinking, oh, let me try mounting. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the situation. You're looking at the situation and you're like, maybe I can get away with this. You know what I mean? So in that case, that second is the world. Yeah, interesting. I can see
if someone's trying. If someone gets at a
shaman.
If someone's trying to kite me and they get out of combat and I have scrolls, I'll always try to go for that. Just it like scares people. People are like, "What the fuck did I just witness?" They just see this paladin like instantly mount up in front of them.
You like, I think my experience with the Holy Reckoning is like they're like at 30 yards, like they're trying to kite you, and all of a sudden you're like, fuck this, I'm gonna run in the opposite direction. And then it takes them a little bit of a delay for them to start chasing after you, and then you can get it off. And the play is literally to run away, freedom yourself, and then go for the mount. Like, that's the play. That is good. I know druids hate that shit. They're like, oh god, no. Okay, so mage, easy, movement speed. Talk to me about warlock. That was the other one that you said was kind of cancer.
Well, that's kind of weird.
I know if you get a skeleton summon book, they have issues. I can tell you that right off the bat. Because they have pushback issues.
Pets are pets are pretty good against warlocks. Warlocks are kind of weird because it's like very spec dependent. It's one of the few matchups where it's like
let's go
very
through
dependent
it.
on
there's only two, I think. Because you can cleanse the other one.
There's three off the top of my head. There's Conflag.
Okay, let's talk.
Conflag locks, SL locks, and Affliction locks.
Do you...
Affliction locks...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I imagine if you could find your cleanse, Affliction locks are easy.
Affliction lock is good if you just cleanse and shadow resist. It's just the biggest thing against Affliction locks I've found.
Okay. Desto locks are cancerous ass for you. I think that's the case.
They're very annoying because Succubus is a bitch. I actually like fire resist against Destro locks if they're trying to do that soul fire bullshit.
So you'll pull out a hand rag.
But it's kind of hard. I would consider wearing a hand rag in that wear a full fire resist set if I knew that they were trying to go for like the soul fire stuff.
I know the skeleton pet completely fucks, not completely fucks, but it is cancerous ass against the Soulfire style, because while you're, CC'd by the succubus, your pet just runs on over there and starts causing pushback issues, and it's actually really cancerous for them.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that, okay, so in that case, I really want to hear about how you deal with SL Warlock and the Destruction Warlock, because I think Affliction Warlock it's either a gearing issue, or it's a B, can you find your fucking cleanse button, and do you have enough mana to use it, kind of a scenario.
Yeah, SL locks are hard because they don't crit you a lot. They just kind of whittle you down.
Huh.
It's just like SL lock is just kind of like out survive them, but also do a lot of damage to them, so it's like a really hard balance to find. You just want Stam, in my opinion. Yeah. Huh. I fucking hate Warlocks, man. They're so dumb.
Okay.
Trying to think.
As a Holy Reckoning Paladin, I eat SL Warlocks for breakfast. It's actually quite hilarious. So
yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, they just don't have the sustain, they don't have the durability. There is one important thing though. So the really good SL Warlocks, like on Henhouse, for example, all right, when they would duel me, they eventually figured out that they can't go offensive against me. What they really need to do is they need to try to wait out the Mithril Insignia. You know what I mean? So they just need to try to last out the night, basically, until they can actually get a fear to stick on my ass, and then they have to go for the reset. What I discovered eventually, though, was this fear that's going to cause the reset is highly predictable, and they're usually super and super low life at that point anyways, that you just skeleton pet it, and then it's done. Like, they're fucking dead. They literally die. Picture this. The SL Warlock dies to a paladin just kind of watching them off in the distance die to a skeleton pet. Like, that is their life. So, yeah, I feel bad for you as Ret Reckoning, but just trust me. On the other end of the spectrum, that they get their dicks beat off.
Destro locks aren't that bad if they're like critting you a lot, because they'll just kill themselves with shadow bolts. But,
really? What the fuck?
Yeah, because eye for an eye can kind of blow them up if they get like lucky crits. But the downside is that Warlocks, Shadow Bolt is kind of bullshit, so it can like randomly one shot you.
I think Drakova was talking about it from like, he doesn't fear Desto locks because he's like, if I get on top of them, they get cut, they just blow up, and
they're very squishy. That's the thing about locks, that from a distance they're very dangerous, but once you close the gap, they die very easily. Because they don't have like mages have frost barrier and blink and stuff. Like warlocks don't. Warlocks have death coil, and if you reflect it, then it's basically game over.
I think Drakova's line of play is he just bubbles the Soulfire. He lets them cast the Soulfire and just bubbles it, and he runs at them. Is that what you do, or do you do something else?
Yeah. If I have fire resist, I'll eat the Soulfire, but I usually don't have fire resist when I fight locks. Because both their schools are so interchangeable. If I wear fire resist, they'll just start using shadow spells. If I wear shadow resist, they'll just use fire spells. That's one of the most annoying things about locks, that I can't really build resistance against them.
I agree.
Because they'll just swap. So yeah, I mean, I generally do the same. Against locks, it's just kind of Stam, because you need to survive to close the gap, but once you close the gap, and you stay on top of them,
have you tried a heavy SR suit versus SL lock, or do they just keep casting fear until they get the reset and they whittle you down over time?
They kind of whittle you down over time. I generally SL locks, yeah, I'll wear. Here's my thing about wearing shadow resist against SL locks, is that it's good, but generally my SR set doesn't have nearly as much stamina as my normal set, so it's
you're sitting at like 4,400 hit points at best.
Yeah, I think my current set. Let me look at it right now. I'm online right now.
I'll look at it. You sent me a picture.
My SR set. Oh, yeah, the BIS one has way more than what I have. Right now, I only
Oh,
have
I see.
4,500.
Well, I'm doing the screenshot one. Yeah.
Yeah, that oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the same one I have right now. It's just like a matter of like, do I want this resistance or do I just want the extra stam? That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to SL. SL is hard to say. I'm not confident saying giving an opinion on SL right now. Honestly, it's just a matchup I am still very
Okay.
unsure about.
I guess. What are,
Affliction is
what are
definitely just SR,
okay?
and then Destro is just stam.
What are
SL, I'm torn between the two.
what are Dracova's thoughts on the SL lock matchup, or does he not have much to say because it's kind of cancer's ass?
I don't remember. I think he said stam.
Huh.
I think so. I think that
I've
was.
never heard him talk to me about it either. I think he just
I,
tries to go SR into oblivion. I think that's what he does.
yeah, I can't say. I don't quite remember
Oh
exactly what
no,
he.
I can 100% say because I remember his old dueling videos against Warlocks. He's like, Warlocks are a joke. You just stack SR.
Yeah,
Everything is SR. They're death coil, and they just
yeah,
die.
that's probably right. Generally have a pretty decent win rate against Lost, just no matter what spec they are, just rank full SR. I'm just trying to think like if I'm min maxing like SR versus Stam. Yeah, it probably would be SR.
Well, yeah,
S
yeah. You want I can say definitively for that because the issue isn't that. The issue is them resetting, right? So if you don't have
yeah,
enough SR, they're just going to reset you, and that's the end of it.
right.
A few resets and you're done. You can use the skeleton pet to counter a single reset, and the skeleton pet beats the dick off of things. So he's kind of a big play. That might be one of the deficiencies and the problems you're having against the SO Warlock is don't have that summoning the skeleton pet to really lean back on. Dude, he's a monster.
Right.
He's a fucking monster. You don't understand. He has like 100 DPS. You can fucking cast Blessing of Might on his bitch ass if you really want to. It doesn't matter. The Warlock will like get a fear off on you, and then the pet just keeps him in combat the entire time, and they can't fear it. They can't waste their mana trying to kill it. It does over the course of its lifetime. Like it punches them for like 100 hit point damage. And you do the math, it's like 3,000 damage to them over the course of his life. It's fucking retarded.
Yeah, I need those skelly books so badly.
So
I've been trying to get it. So yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about Warlocks. I need to wrap it up here and hurry up because I gotta go to bed soon. I gotta work,
man.
but I'm trying to think of what other matchups I need to talk about. Hunter. Okay, I'll talk about Hunter. Hunter, you want armor, you want MP5, and
sword and board.
you can go sword and board. I like a two-hander though because Hunters crit a lot, and if they're really dumb, they'll just leave their pet on you, and you can build stacks off of that.
In my experience, if your Reck bomb can take out half their life when you finally close with them, they're dead.
Right.
They're because they literally can't get you off of them until that window where your Blessing of Freedom is on cooldown, and they're likely going to take 50% life damage in that window, so they're just going to get cut to pieces. It's also 10 times more cancerous if you still have bubble offensively. So like you get on top of them, you clap them, you still have a bubble offensively, they're going to get cut to pieces. I can see that totally.
A lot of paladins complain about Hunter, and they're like, I don't know how you beat a Hunter as a Ret Reckoning paladin,
Learn
as a paladin without repentance. You just gotta just learn to throw nades and run net. Honestly, I run the gnomish net against Hunters, and like if I close the gap on a Hunter, it's very hard for them to get me off because I'll bubble their scatter, or I'll be like 9,000 IQ and just frost reflect the trap.
I gotcha. You don't use any kind of slow anything like chilling
I use frost oil.
Fucking frost oil would be cancerous ass. Yeah, because once you clap them, there's a high chance that you got a frost oil pock, and then they're like, fuck my life. Huh. What if they trinket the net? And by trinket the net, I mean like that spider belt or whatever the hell it is.
They pop spider belt, or actually, I think the trinket does remove snare, so they could theoretically trinket it. Then I'll just nade.
I don't think their trinket does remove snares.
Oh, I thought it did.
I don't know.
Maybe
Man.
it's just slows. Maybe.
I'll go look.
I have a hunter. I should probably go look, but I don't remember. Yeah. So if they Sparty built the net, I will just nade. Also, hunter is another matchup where if you have movement speed, you kind of can fuck them. A lot of matchups where they just try to kite you. If you run rocket boots or just any form of movement speed,
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke. One note I will say about hunters: you want armor, you want int, you want MP5. That is one of the few matchups where I recommend int. Is because you need to be cleansing. You want blessing of freedom up as much as possible. You or not blessing of freedom, blessing of wisdom, because they're going to be vipering you. They're going to be conking you or conk shotting you. You want to be dispelling it.
And that book that reduces the cost of your cleanse.
Oh yeah, if you have that. If you have that.
Yeah, we don't have it yet, but once we get it, it's going to be like, oh, so sexy.
Yeah, it is so good. So yeah, you want wisdom up because you're going to be cleansing constantly because you're going to cleanse. If they hit you with conk shot and viper sting, one cleanse removes both because it's a magic effect and a poison. So you're just going to be cleansing all their slows and stuff. The only time you want to run freedom is you want to do freedom to remove the wing clip. Other than that, though, you want to keep wisdom up the whole time, and you want to just run at them. It's one of the few matchups where I recommend Devotion Aura. You run Devotion Aura, Blessing Wisdom, MP5, a two-hander, because if I was deep red, I would say Sword and Board, but because I'm Reckoning, I would recommend a two-hander because you want to get... By the time you catch a hunter, you'll usually have a full Wreck Bomb ready to drop on them, because hunters crit a lot, and they have their pet. So you'll just Hodge them, Wreck Bomb them, and they generally almost die. And usually, after a Hodge, if you do that to a hunter, like if you Hodge, Wreck Bomb, Judge, do like 80%, they're most likely going to panic, Scatter Shot trap you as soon as they get out of the stun. So right as they get out of the stun, you'll pop Frost Reflector, they'll Scatter Trap you, you'll resist the trap, and you just keep running at them and you kill them.
Yeah,
that's generally how Hunter goes.
I have problems with the Scatter Shot. Scatter Shot fucks me a lot because
it's kind of annoying.
I feel like they can do it at point blank range now. A lot of them, you know what I mean? Like I'm physically in their face and I get Scatter Shot, and I'm like, is this normal?
Right.
I don't remember this being normal. All right, so besides hunters, I want to cover the ones that are difficult, not the ones that are easy. We talked about a lot about the defensive warrior. It's just a gearing issue.
Warrior is easy. You just wear the same gear they wear and do what they do, but better.
You don't go the spell power Edward the Odd Sword and Board style?
I would consider it.
Yeah.
You just want Sword and Board in general. You want Sword and Board with defense gear and spell power.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You basically want to play a prop paladin against the warrior.
Yeah, I agree.
Rogue is a joke. You just trinket kidney, instant Hodge them, then one-shot them. It's easy. What else? I'm trying to think what other classes are. I already talked about Shaman. The Paladin Mirror is dumb, so I don't want to talk about it. I mean, I guess I could.
Oh, no, it's dumb.
Holy Paladin is just a sustained matchup. They live longer than you. Shockedin is actually a very difficult matchup for Ret Reckoning. It's going to fall off because Shockedin don't scale very well, but
I think it works like he who is judging on cooldown loses. It's such a massive mana drain to be judging on cooldown that I imagine if you go against a shock and they're judging on cooldown, you're just going to beat them if you're not judging on cooldown. This is kind of... Drakova's beaten my dick off by teaching me this. Because I remember this from Henhouse, like he who judges on cooldown loses. But I thought with rank 3 SOR, maybe you could get away with it, and the answer is still no. Also, it's Finder Black Grass of the Destroyer. Because that thing is like plus 30 MP5 for you, and minus 30 MP5 for them, and yeah... It's a mana war. I'll play it as such. But no, I think Paladin versus Paladin is kind of this weird, cancerous ass in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hate that matchup. It's very, very boring. Against Holy Paladins, I will usually just sit use my sit macro and just build Reck stacks off
Oh,
of
you
them
go
trying to
that
auto me.
route. Yeah, that
That's
works
usually
too.
what I do. Yeah.
But then that's actually that actually gives you the highest win rate. Is you refuse to attack the other paladin and you just sit down and get a full wreck bomb, and then you
Yeah.
just wreck bomb into them. It forces the bubble, and you repeat the same scenario. But it is
I
so
I
stupid.
dueled a Shotgun once who just blew his holy shot combo on me, and then just autoed me, and I just built a full wreck bomb off it, and then just blew him up for it. And he was whispering me saying he was gonna like report me and stuff, and it was really funny.
Yeah, I can't fix stupid
So
on that one.
Holy Paladin is basically just Ret Reckoning versus Holy Paladin is just stand out of the consecrate and build stacks off their autos and kill them. Do what they do, but better.
Druid.
Druid's very annoying, very difficult, but thankfully they can't dispel magic, so you just run Wisdom, MP5, Armor, same as a Hunter, and you just whack them, and eventually they'll die.
Sword and board?
It depends. If they're feral... If they're feral, probably... Yeah, I would say if they're feral, I'd run a sword and board. Well, actually, fuck, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's another sustain matchup, but it's a different kind of sustain matchup.
No, I agree. What I find weird about talking about it is there's really two kinds of play styles. There's a I stay at range play style and I cast spells at you, specifically the big arcane long cast arcane stuff. And then there's the other style where it's like I try to melee you. And the melee one is it's almost impossible for you to die as the paladin if you play it right, but it's really hard for you to kill them as well.
Here's my thing, right? Is that if the druid's trying to fight me, it's going to be a long fight, but I will usually win.
Yes.
It's going to be a sustained fight, and I'll win. If the druid's trying to kite me, I just run away, because it is extremely, extremely fucking annoying and difficult to catch a druid that's just, like, kiting you, and, like, they're just moonfiring you and then running away in cheetah form.
Yeah, so in that scenario, you either have to find your Mug of Hurt with a Chili enchant. That's really your only win condition. You can do a lot of gear swapping and catch them. Like you can catch them with grenades, and you can get on them with a Mug of Hurt. You can catch them with you run away in the opposite direction a little bit. You drop combat. You put on some rocket boots. You can try some stuff. Really,
that's the thing too. Is like if rocket boots are so important. Like they are so good to run.
Yeah, they're good.
That's another matchup where you can run rocket boots and stuff and be in a good position. And another thing too is that if you can get out of combat for a second against a druid, you can just like mount up, run after them.
Oh yeah.
Force them to fight you for a second.
Yeah, you cast freedom on yourself. You mount up. You run at them.
Druids, it's hard to say, but the nice thing is that if they fight you, it's a sustained war, and you'll usually win. You just throw wisdom up.
The big issue with druids is like where are you fighting them? Are you fighting them in the open world? Are you fighting them in a duel? Are you fighting them in BGs? Right. If it's open world and BGs, your options are basically run away. It's like whatever, you can't kill me. I'm just gonna run away now. Or you find like some wildlife to help you. That's kind of a big thing. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I use the wildlife to get the mana back. You know what I mean? It's like whatever. I'm just gonna MP5 off this fucking boar over here. Go ahead and cast your spells, and they and the fight ends in a draw. In duels, however, when they're stuck in that circle, you can catch their bitch ass. Like you just have to learn how to run. Duels is where I find the strategies that you were listing way more viable because there is a range. Like swapping with the Mugger Hurt and then swapping and stuff. That is much more doable, and that's honestly how I would kind of do it as Ret Reckoning. Against like a resto druid that's like trying to run away in a duel. In world PvP, I just run the other fucking direction because it's not worth fighting. It's just like how are you supposed to catch them, man? Like, you know. Well, what I find funny is that they're so happy. Are you there, man? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. They're so happy. They're like hunters in the sense that I feel like they can run away forever, and they're so happy if you're chasing them. Therefore, the easiest way to deal with this, and I usually do this to hunters too, is just find the nearest fucking wildlife and go double wisdom on it. It's like, let them themselves trying to kill you, and then be like, okay, now what? Fuck off. You know what I mean? That's how I am in the open world. It's like, stop it. So, accept the draw.
Yeah.
Call it good. Last matchup, then we'll let you go to bed. What is the last matchup?
I'm trying to think.
Rogues.
I already spoke about warriors. Rogues, very straightforward.
I think rogue is have your PvP trinket, hodge them, blow them up the end.
Yeah, honestly, against rogues, bro, half the time I run Hodge like as my other trinket because all I need is my PvP trinket. I just trinket kidney shot and then Hodge them and then I kill them in the Hodge.
Yeah, we don't even have to run behind them anymore. You just turn, face, and bomb.
Yeah. Now there are good rogues that play around it. Obviously, if you're a dwarf, this matchup is actually a complete joke. But most paladins are human, like myself. I should have rolled a dwarf. I'm so stupid.
Dude, we need to roll dwarfs next time. I'm not fucking around with these.
I'm 100% playing. Next time I play Fresh Vanilla, I'm not playing human. Oh my gosh.
I think Drakova too. Yeah. Well, it's funny too.
I will never play human paladin again.
The number one thing that sold me on it was when I saw that you could download a UI that you look like a human when you're playing the game, and I'm like, why the fuck am I not playing a dwarf?
Yeah, that add-on is super good. I pretty much always play a gnome paladin because I think they look cool.
I think the problem is
that add-on is so good.
I think the problem though is that if you're a dwarf paladin, you're never going to get a good rogue to duel you.
True.
Like, it's not going to happen. They're going to be like...
You got to get all your practice while you're still a human, and then when you reroll, you got to be ready.
I think Dwarf is even good against fucking Warrior.
It is, because the armor. The armor's nice. And Dwarf is actually even good against Mage, because Frost Resistance.
Oh, fuck, man!
I know. We all fucked up by rolling. Perception only helps us in the one matchup that we already win by, like, a long shot.
Oh god!
We already beat rogues.
Yeah, I gotta roll dwarf. Fuck you, bro. We're gonna be dwarf next time.
Human was a mistake.
I like their animations. Their swing animations are growing on me.
Oh yeah, dwarves are super dope.
Okay.
I'm definitely playing a dwarf next time. But yes, dwarf makes that matchup a joke because blind doesn't exist. But if you're a human, rogues can play around the matchup. By being cheeky with their blind, and it basically is either forcing you to bubble, or you either have to bubble the blind, or you have to eat another opener. I was
under the impression that the way that they play around it is they stack way more hit points than normal, so they get up to like 5,400-ish hit points. Then they stop attacking you the moment you get like 2 reckoning charges. They do not give you a full wreck bomb. You know what I mean? But I don't know how they play around that, because it's like, what are you going to do to stop me from healing myself to full? Are you just never going to attack me again? Like, they're asking you to be stupid, is what I'm saying. They're asking you to please wreck bomb me at not a full wreck bomb. Pretty please, is what they're asking you to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you say play around, but really it's like, if you have half a brain as a paladin, you can play around the play around. Am I wrong about that?
No. You're right.
Okay. Yeah. So
I'm just trying to think like things that rogues could do to have a chance. I don't know. It's that matchup is like.
Well, the first thing that they do is they leave a fraction of a second between their stuns, so that you can be stupid and try to hodge them, and the two things can be batched. We saw that with Holy Sax Boy happen quite repeatedly.
And another thing too is trying to get a. Like batch Hodge with blind. That's another thing.
Oh yeah. Hard to do. Almost impossible.
What else? Vanishing. This is very hard, but you can vanish the Hodge.
Talk to me about what if they're an orc.
Orc is obviously has the best chance against. Reckoning Paladin.
What if they're an orc? Okay, so there's 2 questions here. Okay, let's say it's an orc and it resists the stun, and then scenario number 2 is it's an orc. It doesn't resist the stun, but they're fully willing to use the free action potion, not free action potion. The living action potion, the one that gets you out of stuns.
Oh, if a rogue pops a FAP or a living action potion, or they're an orc that resists, basically if they have some way to get out of Hodge, I'll immediately swap to Sword and Board, Devotion Aura, and just play defensive.
Until your Hodge is back up, and then rinse, repeat.
Yeah, and then I'll rinse and repeat. That's basically what I do. Because with if Devotion Aura and Sword and Board, I'm not going to take any damage from a rogue.
Yeah, you're not dying anytime soon, especially if you have a health potion to leverage as well.
Exactly. Like I have like almost 65% damage reduction with my Sword and Board and Devotion Aura, so
that's gross. Yeah,
I'm not dying anytime soon.
Okay.
So yeah, if they have a way to get a Hodge, I will just Sword and Board and play defensive until Hodge is up or their FAP is up or whatever, and then I'll just try to get an opportunity to heal, or I'll just rinse and repeat. Usually, when a rogue blinds me, as a human, I will pretty much never bubble the blind.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Unless
you're about to die horribly and your PvP trinket's on cooldown, but I don't know how you got in that situation, question mark.
Yeah, that has to be a really unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
So that, which is very rare. The only other time I will ever do it is if I am 110% certain I can kill the rogue by bubble.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, and the play is literally bubble, spin, hit. It's like a single movement.
Like if I can bubble, auto attack, and then hammer wrath.
I know a situation where I'll actually do something like that. Like let's say the rogue has I still have my Reck bomb. The rogue has reset on me, and they blinded me. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm in a blind, and then they sap me, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm in a sap, and then they're dumb enough to sit down right next to me and start eating and drinking. We're not drinking, we're just eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let me just bubble this and blow you the fuck up because all these things are going to crit. But that's super noob rogue, and they learn that not to do that very quickly, so.
Yeah, you don't sit next to the paladin and do that. You do it a distance away from the paladin.
Yeah, I wonder if you could, bubble the sap, but I wouldn't want to bubble. Maybe I might bop instead, but let's say you have to bop or bubble, right? Let's say they sit down at half-life and you still have a Reck bomb. I don't know why you have a Reck bomb when they're half-life, but let's say just whatever. They're a third life or something. Would you consider bubbling the sap and goblin mortaring them and then mosey on over and blowing them the fuck up? I don't know how that would work. I don't know how you'd get in that scenario. Oh, no, I do know how you get in that scenario. Let's say you Reck bombed them and only did, half damage because for some reason you got unlucky as fuck. And then you had to fight a toe-to-toe fight with them, but you decided, I'm going to sit in the two-hander mode, and I'm gonna not attack them. I'm going to stop my auto-attack, and I'm going to get some crit charges. So you have half a Reck bomb. And then go, oh, shit, that thing has half a Reck bomb. It's going to blow me up. I blind it. I run away. I blind, I sap, I run away, I sit down to eat, and it's okay, let's pull the trigger on this. I think there is a line of play where you stop auto-attacking them. If you're in the toe-to-toe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay. So you failed to kill them in the Reck bomb, you have to go to the toe-to-toe, and you're like, okay. I think what the correct play for the rogue is, they just blind you immediately and they run away, so you never have this scenario.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe you bomb them. They're at 10% life. They blind you, and then they run away a little. You let them get the sap, and then they run away a little ways, they're 20 yards away, and now they're eating. Right? Would you consider bubble, mortar, and then put an auto attack judge into them? I would.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think that's probably the line of play there.
I think the best thing to do, though, is just make sure they don't live. Make sure they died.
Make sure they die in the Hodge.
Yeah. You didn't survive the Hodge. I went with, I went with a meteor trinket. You just died.
Right.
Yeah. Good sir.
Oh, yeah. I will talk very briefly about one more matchup before I go to bed. And that is Priest. Shadow Priest, easy, where SR, that matchup is a joke.
Fast one-hander.
Disc Priest.
Fast one-hander.
Yeah, fast one-hander regen. Same thing goes for Disc Priest.
Yeah, really.
You wear mana regen, fast one-hander. Yeah. Even against Disc Priest, because a lot of Disc Priests will just sit there and mana brain you and heal. Yeah. And if you play the long game against a Disc Priest and you're doing it properly, like Flurry Axe with Seal of Wisdom.
Oh yeah.
If they're spam dispelling you, then you just rank one Wisdom.
Yeah, so it's Flurry Axe, Seal of Wisdom. You can basically watch my guide. It's legit for all the Paladin builds.
Yeah,
But you want a Flurry Axe, Seals and Judgments of Wisdom, and you want the Black Grasps of the Destroyer, because that thing's bullshit, and you want an Obsidian Breastplate, and then from there, honestly, you could wear any gear you wanted. You can wear full Tier 2 gear, you can wear SR gear, it really doesn't matter. Because you're gonna win the day through that. To be perfectly honest, I think the SR gear just makes it. The SR gear kind of cancels their fear option. You know what I mean?
It focuses their fear. It focuses power, shadow of pain. It actually negates how much they mana burn.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I know it's a big deal for the mana burn, but right. But the issue is though that if you're wearing the full tier 2, you have a mana bar. But if you're wearing the SR gear, you don't have a mana bar. So it's it's all the same difference.
You kind of want to balance it out, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the tier does come with a lot of SR, and a lot of MP5. That's the big thing for Priest. You just want MP5 and Int. Even as Ret Reckoning, like Ret Reckoning and Holy Reckoning play that matchup the exact same, in my opinion.
Yep. And the kill move, the best kill move, is to find your skeleton summoning pet, because the thing does like an extra 100 DPS practically, and it's like even if they get the fear off. Usually I like summoning it right after they fail a fear, but I'm not sure the pet can be feared. No, you can turn undead it, right? So
but I think it has different properties.
It's weird. Anyways, I just know that you might end up in a situation where you're both and you kind of don't have the DPS to kill one another. And then the pet just comes in and he's like, nah, bro, here's 100 DPS into your dick. Like, get fucked.
Yeah. It's definitely good for like sealing the deal and closing it out.
But I think when you enter when you're and they're you switch from a fast one-hander to like your Dark Edge of Insanity, and then that's enough DPS to get you over the hump.
That's usually what I do. Actually, is like if I have them.
Yeah, if you're and they're and we're both like kind of high life, 70% life each. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. If I have them on the ropes, then I'll swap to my two-hander and throw on rank 1 Seal of Command and just auto them with that, and that usually is to destroy them.
Oh yeah, okay, makes sense.
So,
Disc Priest is the same.
What's up?
Disc Priest is the same.
Yeah, Disc Priest. Pretty much. Just Priest. You pretty much the Priest matchup the exact same.
Interesting. How do you deal with let's say they decide that they're going to go smite. Like they're not even going to mana burn your ass.
I just heal through it.
You go concentration aura, and you're like, okay, fine. I got to deal with some pushback issues, but let's just heal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Because if they're spamming smite, they're going to own themselves.
I would suggest wearing the more offensive gear style rather than the SR set in
that's
that matchup.
Yeah. If they're smiting, I won't wear SR. I'll just wear my normal like stam set.
Yeah.
Basically, I'll just wear stam.
Yeah. Your rank gear, get the mana bar, because you really want the mana bar at that point.
Yeah, because I'll be healing. I'll throw on my healing shield and my healing mace. My healing one-hander, and I'll just heal through it. And then once they themselves by spamming smite,
you'll both be You'll both be It's always the same scenario. It's always we're both but that means I win because I'm a fucking paladin. Name me a class where you're they're and you don't win or get a draw. One of the two.
Paladin mirror.
That's a draw because it times out.
Yeah. True. So I don't think there is one.
All right.
Maybe Enhancement Shaman if they're lucky. But they have to be lucky.
Man, they have to be really lucky on that one, and then they need to kill you with their luck because your Reckoning charges are just going to come back and be like, "What's up?"
That one is a close draw, but Paladin probably still has the edge because they're tankier and they're more mana efficient.
Yeah, and their bubble at the end of the day, they're just like, because I think bubble's like,
if they have bubble, then
40
it's over,
mana or some shit. It's like 60. It's like no mana.
I think it's like 80, but it's very cheap.
Yeah,
it is not expensive.
It's like okay, whatever. I'm like 1% life, and you're like 10% life. Let me just bubble and kill you. The end. All right, man. Well, thanks for the video. Make sure to talk to you later.
Yeah,
hopefully, we've shamed Drakova enough with our lack of knowledge that he'll show up one of these days.
Yeah.
We're probably talking about how easy the rogue matchup is, and he's like,
I'm like not completely confident. I'm like trying to remember, like, oh shit, what did he tell me?
Because he fears rogues. He fears rogues, and he doesn't like mages a lot. And I think we said they're both so easy that he's gonna be like,
Well,
"Fuck
here's
you." I'm
my
gonna.
thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I love fighting. Oh my gosh, I love fighting rogues. I literally smile when a rogue opens on me. I like fighting rogues, and I like fighting mages when I'm prepared. When I'm not
Ah.
prepared, they're not fun. But when I'm prepared, I like fighting them. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
good.
for me personally, because I
Yeah.
practice the mage matchup a lot.
Yeah, I need to practice
So
against them. Yeah.
I have a lot of practice against
Holy
mages.
Reckoning's a different beast, though. I think the problem with Holy Reck. I'll try your tactic of rocket boots against them because Holy Reckoning actually has the clap compared to Henhouse. Because remember
Mhm.
you remember how much damp and magic fucked us on Henhouse, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
It was pretty fucked.
yeah. So now it
Cool.
doesn't work that way anymore. So we actually have the clap. So I'm stuck between trying to navigate between all the defensive options that are at my disposal versus the pure offensive options. You know what I mean? So it's like, It's like, do I go the skeleton summon defensive route, or do I go the Telreyne suggested pure offensive route? Since I actually got some clap behind me now, what to do? What to do?
The main reason I can get away with that is because when I close the distance on them and I'm on top of them, they
Yeah.
will die.
Yeah,
So
I think I think eye for an eye is pulling its weight, and your superior. The fact that you get a massive damage bonus against cloth, whereas I get a massive damage bonus against plate, is probably playing a role.
it's so good because not only do I have a massive advantage against cloth because I'm using melee, but it's also just eye for an eye, talking like crazy because they're just casters are critting me.
Like, oh god,
So
get
it's
it
like
off me!
that's why so many people complain to me about how they always say Ret Reckoning is so bad against casters, and I'm like, what are you talking about? This spec shred
Like,
casters. This
find
is
your
like
obsidian
the
breastplate.
anti-caster.
Find your obsidian breastplate.
Just get obsidian breastplate, stack stam, and get a
Yeah, yeah,
good
yeah.
two-handed weapon, and you will shit bricks on
I
casters.
can
Like
see
it
that.
is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
um
It's a weird world.
it's melee. Like honestly, it's only the plate that gives Ret Reckoning the most problems in this phase. Like,
No, I agree.
but the plate matchups are just gear. Like you just have to itemize very differently against a warrior.
Yeah,
That's really all it is.
yeah, I agree.
But I mean, I'm gonna head to bed. I'll
All right,
talk to
man.
you later. Good
See you
talk.
later.
We'll
Yeah,
talk some more.
yeah, totally.
All right.
Hopefully,
See you
get
later.
Drakova. We should have Drakova in here in like next month or so. Oh, he's gone. Sweet. Okay, yeah. So on the subject of Drakova, yeah, he should be back soon. What happened was he did a server transfer, and it kind of fucked him. Like he wasn't able to get it on either Telreyne server, and he wasn't able to come back to my server. He switched servers to go rank, and then what happened was they locked the servers back in the day, and he's like, oh shit. So he gave up and he transferred servers, and then like that very day they reopened up Telreyne server and Faralina, my server, and he was like, ah! So he just decided to quit for 2 months and go paint elves. But so he's not even talking, not even discussing, not even responding. Every time I ask him a question on Facebook about anything Paladin, or I mention how this works now, or how I discovered this, or this new piece of information, he keeps sending me fucking links of fantasy high elves that he's painting, and I'm just like, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna fucking kill him. Gonna find Drakova. I love you, bro, but you gotta get back on the cast, man, because no, Telreyne knows his shit, though, so I'm very happy to have Telreyne around. Telreyne has apparently been picking Drakova's brain quite thoroughly on the subject of the Ret Reckoning stuff. He's got a lot of dueling experience with the class in general. You know me, I just know Holy, so it's like, whatever. But yeah, so I think I'm going to end it there for the Pallycast. I'll probably do another Pallycast if at all possible. I'll probably get, I forget his name. It's such a weird name, like Medge? Yeah. I'll probably get the Paladin that Telreyne suggested in here to talk more about Deep Ret, if I can get him in to talk about Deep Ret. Drakova knows his shit about Deep Ret, but like we mentioned, it's very interesting when he's like, it's always like, but Ret Reckoning is better, but Ret Reckoning is better. And it's like, yeah, I know Ret Reckoning is better, but that's like at the I feel like that's often like, one, if you have the gear, which is hard to get for the Ret Reckoning, and two, that's only if you've gotten really, really good with the class, right? You get the gear, you get really good with the class, and Ret Reckoning is a monster. But if you're not that good, if you're still building up your skills, and you're not, you don't want to deal with the socio-political nightmare of the gearing, and you still want to be a rep paladin, then I got to find someone to talk about rep for a bit, to be sure. Not that I don't. Telreyne is decent, for sure, but we need to get a Ret enthusiast to talk about it, to be sure, to do it justice. Yeah, there we go. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the Pallycast. Should have more coming out soon. I'll try to get in contact with Medge through Telreyne here. We know Medge, by the way. Oh, God, I should bring this up. We know Medge, by the way, from an interesting comment that our good old boy... Oh, I can't do this. All right, one sec. Let me try to get on VPN, and hopefully it doesn't kill anything. Come on, do it. Do it. Do it. Oh, God. Okay, fine. So, maybe I can find it over here. Paladin Council? Who's talking to me in Paladin Council? That's weird. So what I'm going to try to do, and I'll just describe it really fast before I find it. So we had an interesting conversation, an interesting post from who, I always forget his name, from, I want to call him Creativity, because that's a synonymous with his name. The Rogue! Ugh, whatever, I'll find it soon. Okay. Actually, I might pause the video until I can get this up, and then put it back again. Yeah. Okay, we might have it working. Yeah, it's one of the annoying things about living over here in China is I can pull up my VPN as long as... whoa, okay. Yeah, I can pull up my VPN as long as... I have the... Oh, God. I can pull up my Discord as long as I have my VPN up. And once I have the Discord up, the Discord will function just fine. But it's usually a lot better if I... maybe I should stop scrolling through all of our messages together just in case someone has a problem with it. Here's a screenshot. Okay, here we go. So Perplexity did a message. Posted one on, because you remember I did like a Perplexity, Holy Sax Boy versus Perplexity. So he posted a comment and then he deleted it, but I'm going to call him out anyways because this is 100% Perplexity. I showed it to Telreyne and I showed it to Drakova, and we all laughed our asses off because we're like, yeah, the more things that stay the same, the more things change, the more they stay the same. So he says, the best paladin in the game is Medge, which is the guy that I'll probably bring on the Pallycast here if I get the chance. 4 Warsong titles and a literal innovator on the class. Okay. Who the fuck has achieved anything in the game? Who the fuck has achieved anything in this game or proved anything in any of the paladins you talk about? Oh boy. I forgot he said this shit. So, for example, I would bring up, Drakova, Telreyne, myself are the paladins that were brought up and talked about. So he's basically saying, who the fuck came up with anything? I like my response here. It's pretty funny. What else did he say? None of the paladins you mentioned have an ounce of respect for a single player worth their salt. On this game, in this game, there we go. In this game, not to mention, no one's even heard of them. Sorry, bruh, ha ha. Fuck the 1 hour and 17 minute video. Vid making up nonsense. Yeah, so he deleted that comment, probably more than likely because he contacted Medge, which is a guy in his guild. Was like, who the fuck is this Pallytime guy? And the Medge was like, oh, Pallytime, blah, 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 blah. So, you know. I thought that was pretty funny. Or he was just pissed off, one of the two. Yeah, so the Medge is this guy that apparently we need to get, and I'm going to laugh my ass off to hear about Medge and Perplexity, since apparently Perplexity has a lot of respect for Medge, but he doesn't have a lot of respect for me, so that's going to be kind of fun. I wish I could get my hands on Perplexity and duel his punk bitch ass again. I might lose, man. I've been struggling against rogues. I'm gonna make some rogue guides. Where I'm at fighting rogues now is I found that going sword and board, going in Edward the Odd makes you virtually unkillable. But my major issue is I'm dealing with rogues that are running away at like 70 to 80% life. Like, and not even 70% life. They will run away from me at 90% or 80% life. Because if they stay to like 70% life, I can theoretically clap them. What's making it worse is that they're not using any of their defensive abilities offensively. So they're holding on to their blinds, they're holding on to their evasions. Not evasions, they're holding on to their vanishes. And what they're doing is they'll open up on me, they'll and then they're just running away, right? Like once the opener is done, they just run away from me. And it'll be like 90% life and running away. And I'm just like, the mistake for me to do is to try to pull the trigger on some offense and kill them at 90% life as a one-handed Holy Reckoning Paladin. That's not going to happen. So I'm stuck watching them just flee, and then they come back in again and they do it again. And so I end up having these long 10-minute duels where the timer just runs out because I can't kill them and they can't kill me because I'm using an Edward the Odd now, and I'm going super heavy sword and board, and I'm not falling for the shit. If you recall, I was talking about how the rogues were beating my dick off and I needed to adapt. I adapted sufficiently to the point where I don't die now, so they can't kill me. But I'm still really struggling to figure out how to kill them. Real big problem with that is that they are, since they still got like double blind and they've got like double vanish, it's like, what the fuck do I do? Do I chase after them? So my theory now is I use a chained essence of Eranicus, which is the poison that sticks on them for 45 seconds. The fear of using a changed essence of Eranicus, however, is that they can still vanish within the 5-second dot duration. Like they drop combat, they vanish the 5 seconds, and then they have 5 seconds from that vanish to try to get a sap on you as the paladin. But my plan is to burst on them, get them a little low life, they run away. My parting gift to them is Chained Essence of Eranicus. Chained Essence of Eranicus won't let them go invisible. I continue to, I switch over to a skeleton book summon, and then I sick the skeleton book on summon on them. And from that point on, between a skeleton on them, the skeleton should be keeping them in combat, and the Essence of Eranicus won't let them vanish. I should have the potential of killing them, but I need to use a skeleton summon book. I'm trying to look for options where I don't use a skeleton summon book, like, what comes to mind? Dazzling Longsword, I hear, but I haven't tested it, that the 30-second proc of Dazzling Longsword, it does not let them go stealth, meaning that they can't even use the option to vanish and then sap you, right? So they can't drop combat, vanish, and sap you. And in that case, what I can do is I can use a Dazzling Longsword rather than Edward the Odd. If I get the proc on the rogue, he's going to be up shit creek without a paddle. It's going to be just like a Chained Essence of Eranicus, except probably worse. And then you can chase his bitch ass down and like keep casting judgments into him and get some melee hits on him every now and then until he fucking dies. You probably want to switch over to a Mug of Hurt in that scenario, but I plan on dueling some really good rogues that I've been having a lot of fun with, showing the duel video images once I figure out how to actually execute a kill combo on them. But that's where I'm at right now with that. Yeah, so I'm going to try to get some Medge action going. Hopefully we can get some Medge. Apparently Telreyne has been talking to him, so that'll be kind of nice. Bring him on, talk about Deep Ret next in detail. And hopefully Medge can watch this video and get furious with us for not knowing Deep Ret anywhere near as well as we should. And he can stick it to us in the next video. Totally looking forward to that. But anyways, this video is already long as fuck at almost 4 hours, and the wife is probably pissed off that I haven't gone to the gym with her yet. So I'm going to take off, and day is full, boys.